This dude bagged the absolute baddest girl on campus, but she played him dirty. Now she is going to pay. What nobody realizes is, Lin Zilu just unlocked all his memories from a brutal future. He jolts awake gasping for air. No way. His body is completely young again, and he is sitting right back in his old college dorm room. He snatches up his phone and her name flashes on the screen. His toxic ex. Perfect. He literally time-traveled 10 years into the past. And now it is payback season. See, in the original future timeline, he leveled up into the war god of the dragon continent and literally crushed the zombie king. But his reward, a knife straight to the back, and the mastermind behind his murder, his own girlfriend who never actually gave a single damn about him. She backstabbed him on every level. Yao Jinghan was the ultimate top-tier campus crush, and he was totally hyped to be her boyfriend. Completely clueless that she was actually a plant hired by the young master of the Li family to reel him in. Even before the whole apocalypse kicked off, the Li family's endgame was to milk his power to expand their turf, and then completely destroy him. These guys were one of the big three heavy-hitter families on the Dragon Continent, wielding insane influence, but by some crazy twist of fate, our MC barely made it out alive. But his face got completely wrecked in the process. He spent the next 10 years dodging endless hit squads sent by the Li family. With his insane stats, he could have totally gotten payback before kicking the bucket. If only Yao Jinghan hadn't been hiding behind their massive shield. But boom. Now that he's officially respawned in the past, the apocalypse hasn't dropped yet and Jinghan isn't even his girl anymore. Time to take out the trash. Checking his phone, a text pops up. It's Jinghan whining that she can't make it to his birthday bash, dropping some weak excuse about having private tutoring sessions. He already knows she's just ditching him to hook up with the young master of the Li family. A massive wave of disgust hits him as he remembers his past life, when he received a homemade spicy video of those two as an absolutely unforgettable birthday gift. Fired up, our guy tells her to pull up to a sketchy abandoned warehouse right now since her night is supposedly so booked. Confused, the girl asks why they had to meet at this sketchy spot, and he just smirks, claiming he has a massive surprise for her. He never really figured out why Li Haobo despised his guts so much in his past life, and always figured it had something to do with his late dad who wasn't even around anymore. Back then, he was super hyped to celebrate his birthday with her, only to get completely destroyed by that humiliating leaked video. But now that he just respawned, he is absolutely not blowing this second chance to level up and cancel that tragedy. Out of nowhere, the entire sky bleeds a toxic crimson red creeping out. Anyone who stares at it for way too long. Some random guy on the street brushes it off as a natural phenomenon that drops once every 5,000 years. But our boy, he knows the brutal truth. That blood-red sky is the ultimate countdown to the apocalypse. At exactly 7 o'clock, reality is going to shatter and this whole world will transform into one massive, twisted survival game. He catches himself wondering who will actually make it out alive. He finally rolls up to the abandoned warehouse and steps inside. His so-called girlfriend is already waiting, instantly rushing him because she supposedly has to get to work. Lin flashes a dead plastic smile, telling her to chill because she is getting that big surprise right now. She rolls her eyes, whining about the creepy dead silence, threatening to just walk out. But boom, Lin Zilu lunges and chokes her out. Thrashing in total panic, Yao Jinghan screams that he has gone completely psycho. Totally unbothered, our MC starts rattling off a very specific string of dates and locations. And right in the middle of dropping this seemingly random info dump, Lin whips out a hunting knife. Absolutely terrified, she chokes out, asking what the hell he is doing and what he is babbling about, begging him to just let her go. But Lin keeps pushing, dropping a specific date in March and a random hotel room. Suddenly it clicks. She realizes those exact details sound way too familiar. He doesn't stop now, dropping April 13th. And a sneaky meetup at the Wanye bar. It hits her like a truck. These are the exact receipts of every secret hotel hookup she had with Li Haobo. Sweating, she demands an explanation, but her boyfriend just glares, asking how exactly she plans on explaining herself. Without missing a beat, Lin Zilu snatches up her dropped phone from the floor, swiping right into her chat history with a dude she literally calls Master. In the texts, she is bragging about how his special gift is all prepped and ready, and she totally thought Lin bought her massive lie. Dropping a heavy hand on her shoulder, our guy chills her out before making his move. He flashes a clip on his phone. Without missing a beat, he starts lip-syncing the exact dialogue from the recording, way before the girl on the screen even opens her mouth. Talk about a massive flex, he already memorized every single word. He keeps echoing the exact moments where she drags his name through the mud. Her jaw drops. How could he possibly know? Lin Ziluo smirks and hits her with the exact quote. where she admits the young master of the elite Lai family put a massive target on his back. Reality finally smacks her in the face. That whole clip was just sick entertainment for that rich brat. On screen, she casually brags that if she hadn't completely played Lin Ziluo, she never would have caught the big boss's eye or secured the bag. Then, after totally trashing his entire existence, she actually thanks him. Wow. Pinning his two-faced ex against the wall, he leans in and whispers, dying to know how I figured out your little secret seconds later. He drops her ice cold. You can figure it out in the afterlife. With a fierce shout, our hero unleashes his pent-up fury, driving his blade forward, sending her crashing to the floor and permanently deleting her from the server. His adrenaline crashes. He slumps heavily onto the cold floor, letting a decade of pure nightmare flashbacks wash over him. Tears of pure, unadulterated relief start pouring down his face. 10 brutal years of taking absolute garbage. All because of this snake. He keeps whispering, I finally got her back, while bursting into uncontrollable crazy laughter. But then his eyes go dark. Not even close to enough, he mutters. Reality check. That rich punk Li Haobo is still chilling in his fancy mansion, and the whole toxic Li Empire is running the capital. Boom. Out of nowhere, a synthetic voice congratulates our boy on his epic respawn, and drops a massive bombshell. The Doomsday game is officially live. Wait, what? His brow furrows. The end of the world wasn't supposed to kick off until exactly 7 p.m., and it's literally only 6 right now. On top of that huge glitch, he has zero memory of this so-called cheat system. The AI flexes, claiming it totally hacked the game's mainframe to give our main character the ultimate VIP experience. As the digital interface violently binds to his very DNA, it hypes Lin Ziluo up to pull his first ultimate cheat code, scanning the screen. The system throws digital confetti. He just rolled the max drop rate buff, basically for every single walker. He sends back to the grave, the loot chance skyrockets to 100%. Guaranteed epic loot on every single kill. Talk about absolutely broken. He remembers from his past life that the standard loot rate in this Nightmare Doomsday game is a pathetic one. He knows the grind. Even if you slaughtered literal mountains of monsters, you'd still barely scrape by. Which makes him pause. Is this insanely overpowered cheat system actually for real or just capping? The holographic panel flickers, mathematically proving the drop rate is boosted from 1 to 100%. Our boy is absolutely mind-blown by how busted this is. It gets crazier. For every 10 levels he grinds out, this ultimate cheat code actually evolves. And smashing system quests drops even more ridiculous rewards. Armed with this game-breaking setup, he knows he can completely wipe the Li family off the map. But hold up. Tearing them down won't be a walk in the park. They're literally one of the big 3 powerhouses on the Dragon continent. Their influence is basically god tier. We're talking endless private armies plus some crazy hidden combat arts that push human limits to the max. Why the heck they hunted him down in his first life is still a huge mystery, though all signs point to his dad, who passed away way too young. His gut tells him the only way to crack this case is to play the spy and infiltrate their ranks. Step 1. Crush Li Haobo. Step 2. Quietly build his own empire. And now, packing this ridiculous cheat code, he's gonna scale up his stats. At warp speed, taking down the entire syndicate. Yeah, that's highly doable now. Throwing his hood over his head, he locks in, completely obsessed with ruining the Li dynasty once and for all. He steps right over his ex's body without looking back. Strolling through the buzzing college campus, beneath an eerie blood-red sky, he spots a cute couple. Yeah, they have zero clue the world is about to burn. Hitting up a sketchy local hotel, he slaps down cash for a 1-hour room block, demanding all the water and bread they've got. Gotta stack that inventory just in case. This wild cheat system ends up glitching out on him. The sweaty hotel manager rings up the total for all of Lin's bizarre doomsday prepper stash. Tossing a stack of bills, Lin shoots the guy a deadly glare. Don't even think about sending room service up. Crashing onto the stiff mattress, he checks his screen. 6:55 p.m. 5 minutes till 0 hour. A dark memory flashes. In his first run, that exact room service guy mutated into a massive regional boss-tier zombie, and our boy is totally ready to farm him for XP the second he turns. This time around, he's not holding back. He wants to draw first blood, snatch those early rewards, and speedrun his leveling process. To see if this insane system is actually legit, technician number 3 knocks on the door, asking to come inside. Our boy lets her right in. She struts through the door wearing practically nothing, purring about how gorgeous Lin Zhuo is, and whining that he isn't stripped down yet. She demands they speed things up because her schedule is packed, so our guy just points her straight to the shower. But Lin catches that unmistakable rotting stench. He knows damn well how this apocalyptic death game works. The infected always drop hints before turning. Without hesitating, he whips a massive combat knife out of his bag and stalks toward the bathroom door. As he steps inside, the woman rolls her eyes, telling him to quit playing hard to get, and that she is totally out of patience. But the exact second the water stops running, his phone violently buzzes. Right on cue, pitch-black veins spiderweb across the girl's flesh. The virus is fully waking up. Thick crimson sludge oozes from her pores as those dark blood vessels bulge beneath her skin. She shrieks, doubling over in agonizing pain right as Lin Zhuo kicks the door wide open, blade in hand. In a matter of seconds, she mutates into a full-blown flesh-eating freak and lunges straight for him. But Lin doesn't flinch. He counters instantly, slamming her down hard and brutally finishing the job. Boom, the apocalyptic interface flashes immediately, declaring that the survival game is live, and there is no turning back now. The system drops a massive hint. These walkers have incredibly sharp hearing, but their eyesight is absolute trash, only tracking things that move. The cruel nightmare has officially dropped, and the unlucky ones are already brain-dead walkers, leaving only 20% of humanity lucky enough to breathe. The twisted interface then tells him to just sit back and enjoy this adrenaline-pumping ride, warning him that if he gets wiped out, there are no respawns. To spice up this brutal playthrough, the system lays out the ground rules. Slaughtering the undead and mutated beasts will quickly rack up his experience and massively boost his physical stats. It breaks down how leveling up is the absolute core of this nightmare, and that players will score random loot drops based purely on their luck. The gear tier list ranges from common trash all the way up to god-tier mythical items. But the system gets super shady about the highest ranks, mocking Lin that he shouldn't stress over tiers he will literally never unlock. On top of that, insane hidden perks are scattered across the map, begging to be looted if he looks close enough. Here is the real kicker though. Every single modern firearm, slick ride, and piece of tech that humanity relied on for communication has been totally wiped. The survival mechanics are brutally simple. One scratch from a walker, and he is joining their squad with Monster Blood, being the only antivirus that can stop the mutation. But when the sun goes down, so laying low is crucial. The system shoots him a final heads up if our boy manages to survive. His 7-day beginner protection phase. It will finally drop the lore on the mutant variants out there. For now, the ultimate strategy is just grinding kills while the horde is still pathetically weak. The interface sarcastically warns him not to cry about it later, claiming it gave him plenty of warnings, and reminding him that this sandbox has endless paths. Wishing him good luck, the screen prompts him to lock in a gamertag. Our lead punches in the name Yazi. He swears that from this exact moment, this will be his true identity, completely fired up to kick off against the toxic family that absolutely ruined him. Bam! He instantly scores his first experience point for dropping that infected chick, and levels up to 2, making him the absolute first player globally to hit that milestone. As a reward, he secures the rarest, most overpowered skill in the entire world. The First Blood perk, triggering a massive server-wide broadcast. This is something he never even came close to pulling off in his past life, even when he was known as a literal god of war. Across the ruined globe, a system alert flashes, announcing that the player Yazi was the absolute first to slaughter a mutant and snatch a legendary ability. Cut to a total nerd girl named Jiao whose jaw hits the floor seeing someone rack up a kill, that incredibly fast. Meanwhile, Gu Gaoji, the guy who snagged the second global kill, smirks, actually finding it hilarious that some random dude managed to outpace him. Pulling up his glowing system interface, our boy scans his base stats, locking in on his strength, his spirit, his constitution, and his agility. Right off the bat, he notices his spirit and agility are totally off the charts. He figures surviving 10 grueling years in his past apocalyptic life definitely left behind some hardcore muscle memory. He knows stacking up a solid reputation is a top-tier strategy. It unlocks insane rewards, fat store discounts, and exclusive VIP loot. But right now, he straight up ignores the 4 free stat points he just scored, choosing instead to absolutely max out his raw damage output. Suddenly, a shiny meditation necklace catches his eye sitting right next to the zombie girl he just packed up. Running a quick scan on it, he realizes it's a bronze tier drop that bumps his spirit up by 1 point when equipped. Putting the pieces together, Lin Zhuo hits a massive realization. Bro actually has a 100% drop rate. I mean, pulling a bronze item on his literal first kill is wild. He mentally begs the system to keep his golden finger cheat somewhat balanced and low-key. Seeing his cheat skill actually carrying him this hard, Lin Zhuo decides to grind zombies through the night, to totally abuse the fact that these Nightwalkers are still incredibly weak. His master plan is to speed clear the entire hotel floor, farming every single room for maximum loot. Prowling down the dimly lit hallway, a weird scraping noise instantly grabs his attention. Slipping into stealth mode, he creeps silently toward the door of a nearby room. He reaches out, twisting the knob at a painfully slow pace, before just saying screw it and violently kicking the door wide open. Boom, inside he goes face to face with a ridiculously jacked muscle zombie. Ziluo already knows the lore: when the virus hits, people keep their original physical traits. And this absolute unit was clearly some kind of heavy-duty construction worker back in the day. Checking its stats, he realizes this big guy is actually weaker than a standard mob, so he drops his guard just a bit. But plot twist, the mutated worker lunges out of nowhere, swinging at him with pure aggressive rage. Ziluo ducks, effortlessly dodging the heavy swing. He immediately slashes out with his combat knife, slicing it clean. He thinks it's game over, but this undead tank totally eats the hit and brutally punches him right back, shaking off the blow. Our boy grips his blade, sinking it ruthlessly deep into the beast's flesh, finally finishing the job. As his reward, the system hands him one measly experience point and a single gold coin. Ziluo knows he didn't exactly botch the fight, but his pride is low-key hurt. He really wanted to one-shot that massive dude. Brushing himself off, he walks over to check the dropped loot. The system gives him a slick, consumable card, showing a juicy, mouth-watering ribeye steak. These food supply cards are literal lifesavers and insanely rare, because once the official server shop goes live, a steak like this will cost a whopping 100 gold. It's an absolutely cracked starter item. Smirking, he tosses the card straight into his inventory. Patting down the dead guy's pockets, he pulls out a Polaroid of the man smiling with his little girl, alongside a heavy-duty hammer. Yep, this poor dude was definitely just a local handyman before the world ended. Gripping his shiny new hammer, he marches right up to the next block of hotel rooms and starts ruthlessly smashing the doorknobs to pieces. He even yells out, "FBI, open up," just for the vibes, while kicking the door in. But wait, the door flies off its hinges and he awkwardly busts in on two zombies, literally going at it on the bed. He violently recoils, taking a massive step back. Then it hits him, he's literally in a love hotel. Even as brain-dead flesh-eaters, these guys are still clinging to their primal habits. Furious at having his mood completely killed, the male zombie instantly aggroes and charges at him with pure hatred. Ziluo casually sidesteps the attack, glancing at its stats. This simp zombie is literally 2 whole points weaker than the beefy handyman he just packed up. He honestly finds it hilarious. The sheer audacity of this weakling trying to throw hands so confidently is wild. Without missing a beat, Ziluo mercilessly bashes its skull in with his hammer, flattening the angry zombie and watching. The zombie chick creeps up right on his blind spot. Bro doesn't even flinch. He grips his combat knife and drops her without a single dodge. With both biters totally dusted, he scores 2 EXP and a handful of coins. On top of snatching up the loot drops, our guy gets hit with a crazy double blessing buff. Turns out his overpowered cheat skill, the Golden Finger, is literally Flashback to his past life, dude was out there slaughtering dozens of infected just for a basic water bottle. Talk about a massive glow up. Going from bottom tier trash to RNG god, he is absolutely living for this buff. The loot sentry eyes, basically high-tech motion trackers, that ping any creepers within a 10-meter radius. Since each one stays active for 10 whole hours, Lin Zilu instantly pops one. Moments later, some loud stomping upstairs totally kills his vibe. Boom! The hotel manager busts in, raging mad, yapping and cursing our MC out for making a racket. The guy swings a wild punch straight at Lin Zilu, but he effortlessly sidesteps and readies his blade. Missing the hit just makes the manager lose his absolute mind. Our guy casually tells him that if he wasn't such an annoying pain, he would have just let the biters munch on him and farmed him for EXP an hour later. But honestly, he refuses to waste time on absolute trash. He'd way rather go grind a dozen zombies instead. Zero hesitation. Stone cold brutal. Lin Zilu just deletes the dude from existence. Surviving the apocalypse means being completely ruthless, and he figures the motel owner's weak fists simply didn't pack enough heat. Right after that, our boy starts banging on the very next door, loudly trolling that he's the plumber here to fix the drain. He sweeps room after room, dropping hilarious fake excuses like housekeeping or room service just to draw out the undead. But wait, at one specific room it stays completely dead silent. No one answers. Big red flag. There's definitely another mob camping inside. Without a second thought, he Spartangent kicks the door wide open and storms right in, gripping his blade tight. He locks eyes with a massive brute rocking bells on its back. Don't let the bulk fool you. This freak moves insanely fast, forcing our MC into a hardcore dodge. Rolling with the momentum, Lin Zilu plants his hands onto the floor and launches a brutal sweep kick straight at the beast. While the monster is totally stun-locked, He seizes the perfect opening to slash away with his knife, catching yet another ridiculously easy W. The second it goes down, he scoops up. The shiny new mob drop a straight-up bottle of booze. Next up, he goes full loot goblin on the remaining rooms, hoarding absolutely every single item he can find. Grind session complete. Satisfied with his massive haul, he decides to crash here for the night. Stripping down, player Linzilu is just about to hit the hay at the motel when a sudden system ping pops up. But wait, right as he flops onto the mattress. He glances at the clock and completely panics. It's somehow already nearly 8 in the morning. The clock is furiously ticking down, and he's got to flatline 6 whole zombies in barely 20 minutes. Down at the lobby, he spots a sign saying that technician number 3 is ready for action. Wait a sec, there were 3 total, and he only took out 2. Grabbing his heavy hammer, he remembers survival rule number 1. Walkers always aggro to loud sounds. So he starts wildly bashing the hammer against a wooden wall to bait it out. He clears an empty room near the front desk, but it's completely ghosted. Then, out of nowhere, a weird scratching noise echoes from a hidden floor trapdoor. He rips it open, only to realize this sneaky freak was camping underground the entire time. Catching sight of 2 walkers dragging themselves up the stairs, he immediately gags at the stench, going for a quick wipeout. Yazi straight up launches himself over the railing and drop-kicks them. He crushes the female zombie under his weight, but the male creeper tries to sneak up and jump him from behind. Big mistake. Our guy's reflexes are insane, and he instantly counters with a brutal knife slash. Without even taking a scratch, he effortlessly zero-diffs the pair of monsters, and scoops up 2 easy experience points. Glancing down, he notices his blade is totally chipped and practically useless now. Man, I desperately need an upgrade, he mutters. And just like that, the system delivers. To his absolute shock, a glowing ultra-rare drop materializes from the rotting corpses. He instantly scores a heavy-duty broadsword, smirking as he realizes he literally spoke this insane loot into existence. The loot pool also drops some fresh bread, totally upgrading his sad meat rations into a solid meal. This 70-centimeter bronze blade is an absolute beast, perfect for shattering enemy armor and giving him a massive strength buff. Yazi suddenly recalls that starter gear like this is locked behind a massive paywall later in the apocalypse. He quickly stashes everything into his spatial inventory. With his loadout fully sorted and locked in, Yazi checks the clock, only 10 minutes left on the timer before all hell breaks loose. Ditching the messy crime scene, he charges up the steps and finally busts out of the Love Hotel, only to walk right into a mini horde crowding the street, bracing for a chaotic rush. He watches them literally trip over their own feet and faceplant. Wow, I totally gave Day 1 zombies way too much credit, he laughs. A quick flashback hits him in his previous life. He had cowardly wasted these crucial early hours hiding in his college dorm room. Not this time. As the undead shamble closer, he sweeps his new blade in a massive arc, one-shotting the entire mob. Boom! 4 XP, and 4 gold coins instantly drop. The sweet sound of leveling up to rank 3 chimes in, rewarding him with a fresh stat point. He's gonna need 30 more points to hit the next tier, and exhaustion is already creeping in. But before he can even catch his breath, his 5-second break gets hijacked. A stray zombie is sprinting straight at him, looking way more aggressive, and highly mutated compared to the brainless walkers. But honestly, it's light work for Yazi, who slices it down in a split second, tearing open its loot chest. His jaw literally drops. A skill book, dropping this early in his second life. That's crazy RNG. After tearing through endless enemies, the clock hits exactly 8 a.m., and a blaring siren rips through the sky. Out of nowhere, a shadowy figure lunges at him, forcing him into a split-second barrel roll. Hold up, this isn't a normal mob. Checking its stats, he sees 10 points in spirit, 15 in both strength and agility, plus a ridiculous 16 in constitution. This thing is a tank. Yazi knows the nighttime debuff turns regular zombies into absolute nightmares, drastically spiking their stats. And worse, this beast is about to hit its maximum power ceiling in exactly 60 seconds, sending a spike of pure panic through him. If he doesn't melt its HP bar right now, it's game over. Going fully offensive, he swings his broadsword straight for the jugular, but clang, the blade just dead stops, completely wedged into its rock-hard skin. Hands shaking, he stares in horror as the zombie just stands there, tanking the hit and trapping his only weapon. Realizing he's a sitting duck, Yazi scrambles backward, yanks a heavy hammer straight out of his inventory and yeets it at the monster's skull, screaming at it to die. Smash! The hammer caves in the freak's face, finally giving our guy the split-second window needed to rip his sword free. But that blunt force trauma only pisses the boss off even more, and it immediately charges him down like a freight train. Yazi hits the gas, sprinting for his life, to avoid getting ripped apart by those massive claws, dodging and weaving. until the boss finally leaves a blind spot open. He goes all in for a critical strike, and this time, it connects deep, instantly dropping the powerhouse to the concrete. Riding that adrenaline rush, he wipes the floor with the rest of the horde, noticing every single one of them was fully maxed out on stats. He takes a deep breath, realizing that without his previous life's insane combat IQ and perfect timing, he would have easily been a goner right there. Brushing off the dust, he shifts into full loot goblin mode, cracking open the reward chests, scattered across the battlefield. The clock ticks past 8 a.m., and the zombies' stats just got buffed by at least 50%. That last brawl made a ton of noise, and Yazi knows he needs to fly under the radar. To keep from aggroing any more undead, he starts lugging the corpses around and stacking them into a massive pile. Thanks to a rare item called the Eye, he gets an instant ping whenever these brain eaters try to sneak up on him. Playing it safe, he jams the gadget straight into the dirt. It acts like a high-tech tripwire, warning him the second any zombies breach his zone. After a bit, our guy hits the shower to wash off the grime and chill out. Then it is unboxing time. He starts cracking open the rest of his loot chests. He scores a Ring of the Night, some bottled water, and 2 more sentry eyes. He is totally mind-blown, wondering why gear that was basically impossible to find in his past life is just dropping like candy right now. He inspects the bronze band. It completely cloaks him in the dark, slaps a +1 to his agility, and masks his aggro. Right after that, he grabs the skill manual to level up his arsenal, and boom, he unlocks his very first ability. In this doomsday death game, the craziest part, he realizes there is literally no level cap on how many moves he can master. This is insane because the drop rate for these books is absolutely abysmal. He flashes back to how an average player only got a single shot to roll for a random skill upon hitting level 10 and level 80, back in his previous timeline. Players with trash RNG maxed out at 3 useless abilities. Even the absolute sweats grinding at level 60 or 70 were still stuck spamming their basic starter kits. He remembered this one legendary dude, hyped up as the Skill King, who was flexing a massive 25 abilities in total. It hits him that the 10 abilities he rocked back in his first run already put him in the top 1% of all players. The second he finishes consuming the tome, he unlocks the Spinning Strike move. This sick ability lets him straight up yeet his blade across the battlefield, sending his DPS absolutely through the roof. Yazi is incredibly hyped. It is a super rare warrior drop that mixes crazy range with an automatic boomerang effect, perfect for shredding multiple targets at once. Sure, it has a pretty hefty cooldown, but he already knows a hack to bypass that. Riding this massive luck streak, he spam clicks the equip button beyond stoked to master this new tech. Right after locking it in, Yazi decides to take it for a quick test drive, but his stomach suddenly growls like an absolute beast. So he pops open his inventory and pulls out a massive haul of rations for dinner, whipping up a straight-up 5-star feast. Once he is totally stuffed, he cleans up his mess and tosses out the trash. He knows that if he wants to pull off his ultimate payback, he cannot just stick to his old playbook. Doing that means he is just doomed to repeat the exact same fatal mistakes. So he grabs a notepad and a pen to map out a solid strategy. First, he breaks down the warrior stats like their locked-in strength and constitution, along with the traits that actually scale up over time. He also scribbles down that mage's score. 1 point. 1 guaranteed stat point in magic and agility every time they level up. He thinks about how literally only 1% of the player base manages to unlock secret job classes. But since he already rocked one in his past life, he is pretty confident that securing another one on this run will be an absolute piece of cake. These hidden classes are elite, super top tier, and built entirely different from your basic roles strictly reserved for the sweatiest gamers out there. The unlock quests are basically suicide missions, but the loot and power-ups are totally god tier. He flashes back to his original build, the Phantom. It was this crazy elite assassin role packed with insane mobility and massive burst damage. In fact, that specific build was the only reason he successfully juked the Deadly Lee family for a straight decade. Anyone who manages to unlock these roles transforms into absolute war gods or untouchable magic deities, making them insanely valuable. On his notepad, he scribbles down a few other heavy hitters like the Paladin and the Titan, the Walking Dead and the Grim Reaper himself. After getting his thoughts together, he popped open his inventory and started dumping points into his strength stat. Now he just had to figure out where to track down a light paladin. Oh, and Yao desperately needed to remember the exact drop location of that legendary diamond tier sword. Meanwhile, the head of the rival family was absolutely losing his mind. The dude was throwing a massive tantrum, smashing everything in sight, all because Yao Jinghao had completely wrecked his master plan. He was frantically trying to figure out where this brat was hiding, since thanks to him their crucial materials were not prepped and missed the shipping deadline. His butler desperately tried to talk him down from the ledge, reminding him they had already lost way too many guards. At this rate, their defenses for the Lin family would be completely wiped out. Cutting right through the tension, the psycho young master barked an order to send Lin Jiluo straight to hell to reunite with his dead dad. The butler seriously started questioning if they had completely failed at raising this kid. But on second thought, the kid was not totally off base. After all, the Li family dodged all that messy sibling rivalry drama by only having one single heir. Still, with the actual apocalypse dropping, the young master's toxic ego was definitely going to get him humbled real quick. Right on cue, Halbo hyped up the elite mercenary hunter squad his dad promised to send his way. Assuming these killers had already touched down in Shanghai, he ordered them deployed instantly to hunt down Yao Jinghao and Lin Jiluo. His demands drag Yao back dead or alive and mentally break Lin Jiluo until he completely loses his grip on reality. The butler chimed in, flexing that they were a sworn death squad groomed since childhood solely to execute the young master's every dark whim. Hearing that the young master let out a totally unhinged villain laugh, already daydreaming about the absolute chaos he was about to unleash. Miles away, our boy Yao suddenly started sneezing his lungs out, wondering which hater was talking trash behind his back. Shrugging it off, he grabbed his survival pack and just yeeted himself right out the window, hitting the pavement. He landed right in the middle of a zombie mob. Zero hesitation. He yanked his blade from its sheath and hurled it straight into the infected crowd. Ding! The system popped up, hyping him up for the kill, and dropped one sweet experience point along with a gold coin. The notification spam was real as he sliced through a dozen more walkers, grinding hard until he finally hit level 4. That level up scored him another juicy stat point, but the catch. The grind to level 5 now cost 40 whole experience points. He quickly caught on that his spinning sword trick made mowing down zombies a total cakewalk. After slicing up another freak, he realized this spinning blade technique was totally busted. The only major bummer, his spirit stat was still absolute garbage right now, which made his skill cooldowns painfully long. He managed to scavenge some fresh drip, a solid meal, and a high-end luxury watch. He figured that was a decent enough haul for the day. But wait. The system went off again, hyping a brand new stat item drop. He actually bagged a super rare upgrade scroll, hyped out of his mind, to find something this OP. He checked the specs. This bad boy boosted base stats, and the very first enchant had a 100% success rate. But the RNG got brutal, with the odds tanking as the level climbed. He slammed that upgrade button, nailing the first try and evolving his weapon into a lethal Tang Dao. This ancient Tang Dynasty blade got a massive durability buff, turning it into an unbreakable beast. Right after the glow-up, and on top of that, it slapped him with a +2 strength bonus and now straight up ignored 15% of enemy armor. Riding this insane power, Spike, our boy, instantly pulled up his skill tree to dump even more points into pure strength. Packing his loot away, he equipped his newest toy, the Stealth Mask. Rocking this accessory totally blocked his username level and all base stats from prying eyes. It lasted for a full 30 minutes and could be popped twice a day. Yao instantly threw it on, going full ghost mode. After that wild streak, he finally decided to chill for a second and catch his breath before the next wave. He calculated that hitting level 5 today meant he could crush his next challenge without even needing to farm a dungeon. Dungeons were the absolute meta for farming experience. Rare food and endgame gear. All players had to do was track down one of the countless portals scattered around the ruined city. But the real jackpot, the secret hidden solo dungeons that dropped the most insane loot imaginable. But whatever, he brushes that off for now. Next stop, the Li family estate. He whips out his pocket watch to check the time. Slinging his backpack over his shoulder, he gets ready to move. Leaving a massive trail of dusted zombies in his wake, our guy steps right back out into the chaotic streets. Spotting a storefront locked down tight with heavy chains, he just casually shatters the padlock with one clean sword strike. He steps inside, scanning the dark room only to spot a fresh trail of red ketchup leaking from under. The second he yanks that door open, bam! A mutated freak lunges straight at his face out of nowhere. But his reflexes are insane. Without even flinching, he swings his blade and cleanly lops off the monster's grabbing hand. He casually wrecks the hidden crawler, but the fight is not over. Suddenly, more rotting hands violently punch right through the drywall next to him. Zero hesitation. He charges forward, completely bulldozing the entire wall into dust. One swift slash later, the remaining threat is totally wiped out, giving him total peace and quiet to loot the place. While scavenging, he stumbles across a dusty, framed photo of a smiling family. Definitely victims of this nightmare world. A brief pang of guilt hits him, but he quickly snaps out of it. Almost everyone is a mindless walker now. That is just the harsh reality. Shaking it off, he spots a massive stash of groceries in the kitchen and instantly decides to raid the whole pantry. Our boy cooks up an absolute feast right there on the spot and digs in like there is no tomorrow. Stuffed and satisfied, he crashes hard onto the couch. He pulls out his phone, pulls up the digital map, and checks his coordinates. Doing some quick math, he figures out that heading east all afternoon will drop him right at his target location. He plans to grind some zombie mobs along the way, dead set on hitting level 5 before sunset. No more slacking. He hops up from the couch and gears up to roll out. But dude was so hyper-focused on his lunch break, he completely forgot about the 3 local kids lurking right outside. Turns out they were the surviving kids of the monster he just flatlined, and now they were actively trying to sneak inside. One kid whispers that someone is definitely inside because the smell of cooked food is super obvious. He instantly guesses that the guy inside must hold rare item cards to summon a meal like that. The girl with glasses is panicking, begging them to drop the idea because robbing a high-tier survivor is basically unaliving yourself. But the arrogant blonde kid, he does not care. His master plan is to jump the guy the second he walks out and extort those loot cards. But just as they commit to the heist, splat. A fresh spray of warm red ketchup splatters right across the girl's glasses. The blonde kid takes an instant fatal hit from behind. The girl goes completely frozen with sheer terror as his lifeless body hits the pavement. Stepping out of the shadows, our main character finally shows himself. He coldly explains that he actually wanted to save his mana for later, but he simply could not risk their loud mouths triggering a massive zombie horde. With a flick of his wrist, he sends his blade spinning through the air, instantly dropping both the girl and the last brother before the sword magically returns to his grip. Stone cold and zero guilt. He drops all 3 of them without blinking. In his mind, anybody willing to drag their own sister into danger is nothing but a literal waste of oxygen. Honestly, he feels they owe him a thank you. He gave them a fast, painless exit instead of letting them suffer through this apocalyptic hellscape. He is out here actually thinking he did a community service. Like someone hand this guy a Good Citizen award right now. And just like that, he walks away, leaving yet another grim tragedy for a family that was just desperately trying to survive. Back out on the main streets, he spots an absolutely massive horde of walkers trying to scale a building. Up inside that building, a terrified woman is staring down at the swarm, watching them crawl up the walls in pure shock while her buddy frantically tries to barricade the front doors. Glancing down to the street, they spot a masked guy with a sword absolutely shredding the monsters to pieces, but they instantly notice a massive red flag, his username and player level are completely hidden. Desperate, the woman wants to scream out and beg this masked pro to save them. Her friend immediately shuts that down, arguing that yelling will just expose their hiding spot and pull even more aggro from the horde. Plus, he points out a crucial detail: players who hide their stats in an apocalypse. Yeah, they are definitely not out here playing hero. But ignoring all logic and warnings, the woman activates a skill and completely alters her appearance into this stunning girl with vibrant purple hair. She leans out and calls down to him, trying to play the cute damsel in distress, hoping her looks will buy her a rescue. Hearing her flirty shouting, our guy slowly turns around, opens his inventory, and pulls out a literal tube of toothpaste. Furious, the influencer snaps at him, completely mind-blown that he doesn't recognize her massive online clout. She flexes how her dedicated fans shower her with digital sports cars every single day. Yet this guy is straight up ghosting her. Throwing a massive tantrum, she grabs a heavy flower pot and hurls it straight at Yassi's head, but he just casually tilts his shoulder, dodging the crash with absolute zero chill. She keeps whining for a rescue, crying about the infected freaks swarming the area and playing the helpless victim. She even drops a spicy hint, offering some late-night favors if he saves her, totally convinced he's just playing hard to get. Yassi's response: he casually pulls out a chunk of infected raw meat, the ultimate mutant bait that drives those monsters absolutely feral, and lobs it right through her apartment window. She screaming at the top of her lungs that she doesn't need groceries. She needs an extraction to a safe zone right now. But right behind her, a heavy door bursts open, and a whole dozen of snarling walkers flood the room. The monsters absolutely trash the place, instantly taking out the screaming influencer just to get to that tainted bait. Watching the chaos, Yassi coldly notes, Apocalypse, rule number 1, trust absolutely zero people. Rule number 2, know your actual worth and never beg strangers for a bailout without thinking it through. Leaving the drama behind, a pack of mutants starts tailing our boy down the block. He finally rolls up to the Moda Center Stadium, his ultimate destination. With 2 solid hours before pitch black, the clock is ticking, but he's got this. He's betting everything on snagging a silver teardrop here. According to the twisted rules of this doomsday game, massive landmarks basically act as high-stakes dungeons. Rare chests spawn randomly for anyone to grab, but they're always guarded by a heavy-hitting boss. You only get the loot after packing up the Guardian, and a silver chest guarantees a sweet silver tier reward. The second his boots hit the stadium floor, his system pings with a brand new quest, 1 versus 100. The challenge flex his combat skills by wiping out exactly 100 walkers of any level. The prize is a random bronze tier gear drop straight from his overpowered cheat system. Spotting a crowd of what looks like level 2 mutants, he actually pauses for a second. This arena is totally massive. His original strat was to stealth past the horde, swipe the chest, and dip out unnoticed. But with this sudden quest pop-up, he's sweating over potential penalty. The system chimes in asking if he's absolutely locked in on his choice, reminding him that this cheat code exists purely to buff his survival experience. Dropping a massive plot twist, the interface confirms there is literally zero punishment for dodging, or completely failing the objective. Actually, he would even bag a sweet consolation prize of 100 gold coins just for participating. Yassi smirks, hyped to realize this is a total win-win scenario with absolutely nothing to lose. Scanning his past life memories, he locks in the silver chest's location, the third-floor storage room. With a solid game plan locked and loaded, he decides to flank through the side entrance and carve a path straight to the first-floor fire escape. From there, it's a brutal grind up to the second-floor medical bay, aiming to breach it by 8 p.m. As the sky fades to pitch black, he plans to crash on the clinic beds and catch some much-needed sleep, recharging his stamina to push the offensive tomorrow, aiming to hit the third floor by high noon. Once he cracks that chest open, he'll base jump off the roof for a fast and flashy extraction. Executing the strat, he shatters the padlock and breaches the indoor basketball court. Right in the paint stands a massive infected athlete, and Yassi smirks. Perfect warm-up. He rushes the towering freak, slicing through its defense effortlessly with his blade. Following up the combo, he whips out a heavy hammer tagged with a cute bunny sticker and absolutely smashes the monster. The brute drops its basketball, totally wiped out. Yassi chuckles, thinking this poor hoop star definitely didn't expect to turn into a brain-dead walker right in the middle of a pickup game. Staring down at the crushed zombie, Yassi spots a glowing drop in the dirt. He snatches it up, totally hooked. Boom, a stadium master key and a flashbang drop right into his inventory. This bronze tier throwable is no joke. It blasts a blinding flash, wiping out the vision of anyone caught in the radius. Yassi smirks. This is exactly what he needs for tomorrow night's stealth raid on his family's mansion. He shoves the flashbang into his pack and inspects the stadium master key. With this baby, he won't have to smash down any more doors. No more loud crashes, drawing massive zombie hordes. Slipping up to the next entrance, he slides the key in and clicks the lock open without making a single sound. Inside, it's an absolute nightmare. A whole squad of infected ping pong players. Yassi drops into a crouch, scanning the room. 17 targets in total. He quickly checks their stats. These monsters are packing baseline attributes almost identical to his own. An average player would get completely shredded trying to solo this room. But Yassi, he just smirks. For him, this is going to be a walk in the park. The lobby doors are shut tight, but one loud mistake and the horde outside will crash the party. The strategy is simple. Stealth kill 2 of them to hit level 5, then go fully aggressive on the remaining 15. Gliding behind a straggler like a ghost, he executes a clean, silent blade strike. Instant kill, but the body hits the floor with a thud. The rest of the pack snaps their heads around, eyes glowing with pure rage, and they sprint straight for him. Unbothered, Yassi swings his blade in a brutal arc, slicing 2 zombies in half. He backsteps to create space, then launches himself into the air. Using gravity, he crashes down with a heavy slash, taking out 2 more targets. The system chimes. 2 stat points and 3 gold coins secured. Boom, he finally hits level 5, bagging a crucial attribute point. He needs 100 XP for level 6. Dumping the point straight into his constitution, he vaults onto a ping pong table to claim the high ground. He viciously kicks away a zombie lunging for his ankles. Meanwhile, huddled inside a nearby locker, some random dude is watching this entire bloodbath unfold, absolutely shaking in his... He almost has a heart attack as a dead monster slumps right against his hiding spot. Seconds later, more infected bodies get tossed violently against the metal door, denting the steel. Peeking through the vents at the mangled silhouettes, the coward realizes those are fresh corpses, meaning the overpowered guy outside is dropping premium loot left and right. A greedy thought crosses his mind. He could just scavenge the drops and claim all those sweet resources for himself. This rat actually schemes to lure even more monsters into the gym, forcing Yassi to do all the dirty work while he safely loots the battlefield. But out on the floor, Yassi is hitting his limit. His muscles are screaming, hands trembling from the relentless hacking and slash. The vicious snarling has already drawn severe aggro from the outside horde. They are now furiously pounding on the gym doors, desperate to rip him apart. Yassi keeps dead quiet, sweating as he wonders just how long those hinges will hold. His new plan: wipe out the remaining targets in the room and pull a tactical retreat. Out of nowhere, four walkers launch themselves at him, jaws snapping for his flesh. Reacting purely on instinct, Yasi pulls off a wild mid-air spin, roundhouse kicking three of them back and dodging their lethal bites. He sticks the landing flawlessly, instantly squaring up against the final dozen monsters swarming him. With one explosive thrust, his blade skewers three zombies like a shish kebab, dusting them without breaking a sweat. Once the last body drops, his adrenaline crashes hard, and he collapses onto the cold floor completely gassed. The system hooks him up with a stamina potion, gulping this down. Instantly spikes his energy by 20%, with a continuous 5% regen every minute. Sure, it comes with a massive 30-minute cooldown, but our guy chugs the whole thing without a second thought. Catching his breath, he tosses his sword onto the ping-pong table and finally starts scooping up his hard-earned loot. He scores a spiked bracelet. This insane enchanted gear literally summons ground spikes to obliterate approaching enemies. The second he snaps that bracelet onto his wrist, a horde of zombies suddenly smashes through the door, perfectly timing their ambush. Our guy waited for the perfect moment, pulled a sick backflip, and instantly activated the bracelet. The skill spawned a massive row of earth-shattering spikes, skewering the entire zombie mob in one go. Yazi was honestly shook by how insane this power actually was. Like normally, only a level 20 mage could pull off a stunt like this, but right then, a sneaky leftover zombie tried to jump our MC from behind, but boom, a massive spike sent it flying, realizing he had just wiped out a whole horde. In a single strike, the system started spamming his screen with massive XP gains. But there was a catch. The system pinged him saying the spike skill was slapped with a 24-hour cooldown. See, when you use an item-based skill for the very first time, the system practically supercharges it, maxing out its damage. From now on, though, he'd have to burn his own spiritual power to use it. Time for the best part: loot. Our hero crouched down and started scooping up the drops from the dead monsters. He scored a grenade launcher, a one-time-use heavy hitter with a blast radius of 30 meters, plus a slick pair of storm-summoning boots that totally muffle footstep sounds. Our boy immediately slipped on. His fresh new kicks and the system actually praised him. Watching his stats skyrocket, the game noted that unless someone changed classes, it was literally impossible for a regular player to rock stats this high at level 10. And it gets better once he actually switches class. These stats are going to double compared to any basic player at his level. Stepping out of the room, he realized the hallway was still packed with an absolute mob of zombies. Big brain time. He grabbed some raw, infected zombie meat, loaded it into his short-range weapon, and blasted it across the room to bait every undead freak in the area. While the mindless horde chased the meat, our MC triggered his new boots, which massively boosted his speed and completely silenced his footsteps, letting him ghost right past them undetected. He noticed it was creeping up on midnight, the exact hour those zombies would get an ungodly stat buff. Just because it's nighttime, throwing hands with them now would be a total waste of time, so he figured he needed to crash somewhere. Creeping up to the nurse's office, he shut the door super carefully so it wouldn't make a peep, and tried to lock it using his master key. But instantly, his spidey senses tingled something was off. The door wasn't locking. He quickly did the math. The apocalypse hit at exactly 7 in the morning, and while the stadium was open, the clinic usually closed way before that, meaning this door should have been deadbolted shut the second the death game started. Realizing someone was inside, he shoved his master key into the lock and pushed the door open, silently praying this random dude I wouldn't start any drama. Yazi crept into the dark room, barely even breathing to keep quiet. But of course, the guy hiding inside totally spotted him, and demanded to know who he was and how the hell he got the clinic key. In a flash, the stranger pressed a cold blade right up against Yazi's throat. But our boy didn't even flinch, just coldly whispering that he was messing with the wrong guy right before snapping his wrist to disarm him, the second that knife hit the floor. Yazi grabbed the dude's arm and slammed him backward, practically dislocating it. Pinning him down, our MC shoved a thick cloth over the guy's mouth to muffle his screaming. That cloth, which was basically just a random blanket he pulled from his inventory, was then taped up to seal every single glowing crack in the room. He barked at the guy to flick the lights on, but the terrified survivor panicked, whining that it would attract the zombies. Yazi just rolled his eyes and told him he already blacked out every single gap so they were perfectly safe. Shaking, the guy finally flipped, the switch lighting up the room and revealing a whole squad of other survivors hiding in the corner. Their jaws literally dropped seeing our MC still breathing. They were fully waiting for him to get packed up so they could loot his corpse. Yazi scoffed, saying he'd seen that exact cocky look a million times and was about to teach these rats a harsh lesson about the apocalypse. Rule number 1 of the apocalypse: never throw a deadly glare at someone, because those who do always end up getting wiped off the map. Yazi smoothly flips open his pocket knife and instantly lunges at the guy, taking him down for good. This brutal execution leaves the rest of the survivors completely paralyzed with shock. Our boy knows he made the right call by permanently silencing this dude first, since the hater was packing heat and definitely would have caused massive headaches later. Yazi casually turns to the terrified group and insists he's actually a totally sweet guy, begging them not to catch the wrong vibe. Someone instantly claps back that if he's considered a good guy, then they must be literal angels considering he just flat out murdered someone in cold blood. Yazi quickly defends his actions, explaining that the enemy literally provoked him first, leaving him absolutely zero choice but to counterattack, since he's a totally reasonable person, not some unhinged villain. Just then, a woman rocking a white lab coat steps up and declares the guy totally deserved his brutal fate, and surprisingly, the rest of the squad aggressively nods along, even though they're still visibly shaking. The group backs up her claim. Our MC smirks, feeling super satisfied, and thinks to himself that if his stats had been fully maxed out, that chaotic brawl in the ping pong room would have wrapped up way faster. He then barks an order at the group to scrub the blood off the floor and ditch the corpse. Shaking in their boots, they all scramble to obey, dragging the dead weight away by tightly rolling it up in a blanket. Watching them work, the MC locks eyes with that female doctor and gets massive deja vu, swearing he's seen her face somewhere before. Her name, Jian Yexue. Right now she's hard stuck at level 0 with absolutely no special title. Suddenly it fully hits him. He totally crossed paths with her in his past life during the absolute endgame of the apocalypse, back when she carried the insanely overpowered title of Divine Healer. Knowing she secretly held a god-tier hidden class in this current timeline, he remembers begging her to fix this nasty cursed scar on his face. She had explained that the scar was literally bound to his soul, making it impossible to erase. Later on, whenever he got brutally wrecked in battle, he always tracked her down for emergency clutch heals. But here's the catch: the Divine Healer class was heavily respected and heavily guarded during those late-game stages of the apocalypse. Even so, healers were basically treated like literal walking health packs, having absolutely zero combat stats to defend themselves, meaning any random player could just delete them at any given moment. He flashes back to that brutal era and all the insane devastation, realizing just how drastically she has evolved. He smirks at how wildly unpredictable fate can be, since he's already bumping into top-tier VIPs on literally day 2 of the apocalypse. Plus, in this life, she's low-key, a triple threat, a nurse, a doctor, and even a mechanic. Suddenly, the survivors practically jump out of their skin as the door loudly creaks. Everyone starts aggressively trembling in pure panic, while our guy calmly checks his watch. It's exactly 8:30. He swiftly pulls some food cards from his inventory and starts absolutely devouring a meal. The starving NPCs stare at Yazi with intense jealousy, their empty stomachs loudly growling. Peeping their desperate vibes, the doctor nervously asks how he scored the snacks, and if they could maybe get a tiny bite too. Right on cue, Yazi flashes a wicked smirk, realizing they just walked straight into his trap, and tells them that if they want to eat, they gotta do him a solid first. While the girl wonders what kind of sketchy favor he wants, Yazi casually drops that he just needs them to hunt down a massive list of medical supplies. The nurse asks if that's seriously all he wants, and our hero nods, which completely throws her off. Snatching the list, she gears up to kick off the ultimate scavenger hunt. Yazi gives them a strict heads up that they'll be grinding hard all night long because he's dipping out at exactly 6 in the morning, right before crashing. He tosses them some food via the cards, and promises that if they actually hustle, he'll hook them up with even more loot when he wakes up. Next, he deploys the escort eye to keep a 24/7 watch on the room, then pops open his inventory, noticing he's only 22 XP short from hitting level 6. He also checks his progress on the insane 1 vs. Hundreds quest. After catching some Z's, our MC wakes up and strolls over to the IV drip room, only to find the civilians looking completely dead on their feet. He hypes them up for their hardcore grind and tells them that every single card he hands over is enough to keep them fully fed for an entire day. The nurse is totally shook, mainly because she fully expected him to just slaughter everyone and casually snag all their hard-earned loot. She totally didn't expect him to actually keep his word, and starts realizing this guy might not be the ruthless monster she originally pictured. Yazi then grabs the heavy medical box that he'd asked for right as the girl questions how to actually activate those cards. Our guy is completely shook, suddenly realizing this twisted survival game totally skipped the tutorial phase. Flashback to his past life, where it took him literal days just to figure out how to pop open his basic inventory stash. He tells her to watch her step, then gives the nurse a quick crash course on swiping those system cards, flexing how a full meal magically spawns right on the table with a single tap. She is super grateful, and before long the whole civilian squad is cashing in their cards to finally grab some grub. Yazi makes a mental note to keep a close eye on this girl. Back in his original timeline, she totally had his back when things went south, so he orders the entire group to dip out of the area right this second. Fast forward to noon, he peeks through the dusty blinds, figuring he has already cleared out every single walker in the stadium. But then Joan pops up dropping the bomb that there are still infected creepers lurking nearby. Our hero basically tells her to mind her own business and bounces. But the second he steps outside, boom, he is staring down a massive, swarming horde of mutants. Zero hesitation. He draws his blade dashes straight into the chaos and slices the first enemy down, scoring a random fishing rod as his loot drop. Playing it incredibly stealthy, he snatches the falling body mid-air before it even smacks the concrete, dodging any loud thuds that could aggro the rest of the pack. From there, Yazi goes full try-hard, sweeping through the monster mob with lightning-fast surgical strikes. He finally makes it to the opposite end of the arena, pushing open a heavy door only to freeze. There are literal zombies chilling with their pants down. It hits him pretty quick that he just barged straight into a public restroom. Makes sense now. One of the walkers, clearly heated about his privacy being invaded, lunges right at our guy, totally raging and trying to take a massive chunk out of him. But the clumsy freak literally trips over his own dropped pants and faceplants. Yazi cannot even take this goofy matchup seriously anymore. Instead of a basic attack, he pulls off a flashy acrobatic flip, sending the humiliated monster crashing down to the tiles, leaving him wide open for our hero to effortlessly sink his blade in and wrap up the job. Yazi starts doing the math in his head. Sure, the survival odds inside this stadium are practically zero, but most of the folks stuck here were crazy athletic before they got infected, meaning their base stats got a massive, terrifying buff after mutating. He clocks the shadowy figures moving inside the women's restroom too, basically confirming that there is zero chance anyone is still breathing around here. Yet even during the literal end of the world, our guy gets super awkward and hesitates to walk into the ladies' room. Finally, he just squints his eyes shut, shoves the door open, and realizes the main area is totally empty. Wait. He picks up the weird grunting of a couple walkers, echoing from behind one of the closed stalls. The exact second he kicks that stall door open, he catches two infected going at it in a super spicy, compromised position. The split second these freaks spot fresh meat, they totally lose their minds and violently lunge at him. But honestly, they both slip on the wet floor, wiping out completely together, and Yazi just casually clears them out with one clean, effortless slice. Taking down these level 2 scrubs nets him 4 XP and 5 gold coins. After securing the bag, he starts patting down one of their pockets, hunting for some hidden loot, just like he guessed. These monsters used to be regular humans. Aside from their rotted brains, everything else stayed exactly the same, right down to their messy, toxic habits, from when they were actually breathing. Sizing up the sheer build of these two fallen creatures, the puzzle pieces click. These two are not just randoms. They are a notoriously toxic zombie power couple from the survival game meta. Back in his past run, this chaotic duo was discovered haunting this exact stadium zone. They were literally inseparable, and packed some insane, unmatched tag team combat synergy. The absolute only boss outranking them was the zombie emperor himself. If these two ever fought side by side, they could easily go toe-to-toe with a literal war god or the emperor. Yazi genuinely never expected these elite mini-bosses to have such garbage luck that he would easily wipe the floor with them on barely day 3 of the apocalypse. After bagging the easy win, he scoops up the fusion stone they dropped as a rare reward. This glowing rock is a massive deal. Used to smash 2 bronze tier items together to forge some seriously busted high-level gear. He is totally crossing his fingers for a solid weapon drop to merge with his trusty Tang Dao blade, just as he spins around. He instantly clocks that someone is hiding in another stall. Yazi raises his sword, shifting right back into high-alert combat mode. Peering cautiously into the shadowy space, he discovers a glowing magic summoning circle and a literal treasure chest just sitting. Spotting that bronze chest bumps his rep up by 10 whole points. Next up, he triggers the unlock for the special bronze dungeon crate, which takes a solid 30-second cooldown. The clock ticks down, the lid pops, and bam, an apple sitting right inside. Our guy is praying this drop buffs his strength or agility. Turns out this god-tier fruit boosts your constitution by 2 flat points permanently the second you eat it. Drops like this are insane at level 6, and for players sitting at different tiers, the stat buffs are a total mystery. If 2 squad mates split the bite, they can totally share the loot, grabbing 1 stat point each. Our boy hits the sink, washes the grime off, and takes a massive bite. The second it goes down, his eyes literally light up. This thing tastes absolutely fire. A system ping pops up confirming Yazi just devoured the snack. locking in that permanent 2-point constitution buff. Right after he yanks this massive heavy rug straight out of his inventory, muttering how this stadium keeps throwing crazy curveballs and that he is actually hyped to face whatever undead freaks are lurking ahead. Stepping onto the street, he spots a massive horde of walkers sprinting at top speed. Zero hesitation, Yazi slams that heavy rug down onto the pavement, forcing the horde to step on it. It completely dampens their rushing footsteps, keeping the aggro locked down from any nearby creeps. With the noise fully muted, our guy goes on an absolute tear, shredding through the mobs, racking up sweet XP and gold drops. These walkers are level 2 now, meaning way juicier XP gains, pushing him right over the edge to finally hit level 6. Plus, bagging 2 more zombies scores him some fresh resource cards, and he even snags a wicked flashbang grenade. His strength pumps up to 19, and doing the math, he realizes he's already wiped out 62 out of the 100 kills needed to clear this current quest. Oh, and he just snagged a brand new bronze tier drop. Easily his most OP gear, yet a pair of insane lion-carved bracers. These things pulse with raw lion energy, heavily buffing the user's strength and vitality, while slapping enemies with a pure intimidation debuff. That aura totally wrecks the target's motor skills, locking down their abilities entirely. Realizing the game restricts him to 1 gear piece per body slot, Yazi locks in the bracers, instantly squeezing out 2 extra strength points. Creeping a door open next, he's hit with a gruesome scene, mangled bodies everywhere. It gets him thinking your basic mobs don't actually have special skills. They just bite humans to spread the virus, only feasting on brains when they trigger a frenzy state. Glaring at the absolute bloodbath painted across the floor, he bets a boss-tier zombie is pulling the strings here. Those elites absolutely dwarf regular walkers of the same level, treating humans like nothing but walking Happy Meals. Hell, they'll even cannibalize their own kind to kill the hunger pangs if the human buffet runs dry. Then it clicks a secondary threat: infected beasts. The spawn rate for these things is super rare. It usually only corrupts heavy-duty animals, since weaklings like mosquitoes literally explode from the virus overload. These infected predators thirst for human brains, but they will ruthlessly hunt down regular walkers too. Checking the vicious slash marks on the corpses, he pieces it together: definitely an infected cat. Yazi absolutely despises these things. Their radar-like hearing and insane reflexes mean it totally already knows he's trespassing. He braces himself. Is the freak setting a trap or coming straight for his throat? Straining his senses to lock onto the beast, he's coming up completely empty, sweating the ambush. Suddenly, a sharp spark of danger flares up, signaling the monster is right on top of him. Out of nowhere, the feral cat lunges from the shadows, but he sidesteps just in time, narrowly dodging a lethal swipe. On pure instinct, he hurls his blade straight at the mutant. Scanning the stats, bronze tier level 9, packing 21 strength and razor-sharp claws. Our guy quickly realizes this isn't standard fodder. It's a prefixed monster, basically an entity-level boss. Its passive skill, those cursed claws, rip wounds wide open, severely nerfing any healing by 40%. And on top of that, locking eyes with this beast can drag you straight into a nightmarish hallucination, and that heavy dose of pure panic. It totally tanks the target stats. Our guy instantly clocks that he's staring down a high-tier boss packing a punch and speed that completely leave him in the dust. He figures a debuff that completely nerfs healing while buffing damage taken is exactly the kind of toxic mechanic you'd expect from an apocalypse game boss. Translation: one single scratch, and that limb is basically permanently crippled for the entire brawl. But does he sweat it? Nope. Our boy just smirks, totally locked in, ready to flex all his veteran combat skills to completely obliterate this zombie cat. The second the mutated feline creeps closer, he drops into a fighting stance. Ding. The system flashes a massive warning: he just triggered an insanely stacked bronze-tier monster and the quest is to wipe it out. The lore drop reveals this guy was just a stray cat with a unique passive, originally chilling on the stadium's 3rd floor. Local animal lovers used to bring it treats, but when the apocalypse hit, the virus took over, mutating it into a total nightmare. It went on an absolute rampage, using those razor-sharp claws to shred the exact same humans who used to feed it. Dark, right. The vanilla quest demanded he flat-out zero the cat for 100 rep points, 200 gold, a random gear drop, and 100 XP, all within a stressful 8-hour time limit. The penalty for failing: getting slapped with a whole level down and permanently bleeding a stat point, across the board. Brutal, right? But hold up his cheat skill. The golden finger scans the quest and totally hacks the code, juicing up the specs, absolutely maxing out the loot pool. The payout skyrockets to 300 rep points, 500 gold coins, and an ultra-rare item. And the best part, The timer stretches to a chill 24 hours, and those brutal penalties, completely wiped. Our boy is absolutely shook. He realizes this isn't the hardcore survival trap he remembers, and it's definitely not the ruthless system that tortured him endlessly in his past life. Back in the day, every single quest was a literal nightmare. Failing or dodging meant insane punishments. For a total normie, grinding with a miserable 1% drop rate, the original loot might have looked okay. But soloing a level 9 bronze boss right out the gate, literal suicide without a massive raid group. And even if you threw dozens of players at it, they'd be splitting a measly 250 coins. Absolute pocket change. But now he's about to bag 500 gold all to himself, plus a massive chunk of XP. His cheat skill just turned a total death trap into the ultimate jackpot. Zero hesitation. Yazi instantly smashes that accept quest button. The interface flashes, locking in the quest, the traitorous zombie cat. Time limit 24 hours. Meanwhile, this freaky mutant just sits there, grooming its paws like a totally normal house cat. So eerie. But Yazi is a seasoned pro. He knows if you let a toxic boss tilt you, you've already lost the fight. The game plan bait the freak into making the first move. To piss it off, he casually drops to one knee, whips out his phone, and literally starts reading a manhwa, laughing his head off. The ultimate disrespect, and it totally works. The cat loses its absolute mind. Fur spiking up like actual needles, it violently launches itself right at our boy, closing the gap with a terrifyingly fast pounce. The beast even hisses out a straight-up death threat, vowing to shred him. Claws flashing, it goes in for the kill. But Yazi pulls a slick last-second dodge, seamlessly gripping his sword. Pissed off, the mutant springs off the ground for round 2. But our MC simply sidesteps again. Blade drawn, he smoothly slides right behind the enemy's blind spot. Yazi swings for the lethal slash, but the cat ghosts him. The monster actually gloats, bragging that it can predict his every move. Big mistake. Because in that exact split second, Yazi's blade connects, slicing its front claws clean off. The boss definitely didn't see that coming. Howling in pure agony, the creature throws a massive tantrum, screeching that this is totally unforgivable. Our hero, he just laughs right in its face, roasting the beast for getting brutally manicured, literally daring it to step up again. Absolutely fuming, the cat unleashes an ear-piercing screech and finally pops. Its ultimate skill, the fear gaze. Suddenly, Yazi's vision totally warps. He instantly knows he's been dragged into a mind-bending illusion, fueled by those creepy, glowing zombie eyes. In this nightmare realm, the cat blows up into a colossal demon swarmed by screaming lost souls. But here's the thing. Yazi survived 10 actual years in the apocalypse. A cheap parlor trick with some ghost zombies, that's literally a walk in the park for him. He coldly tells the beast it's totally pathetic, and literally shatters the illusion with pure willpower, blasting the monster backwards. Back in reality, the spell snaps. The boss crashes into the dirt and instantly scrambles, running for its life. Smelling the perfect opening, our boy immediately triggers his whirlwind sword skill, winding up to unleash his weapon right at the fleeing monster. Boom, the cat bites the dust, Yazi clears the quest and scores an absolutely insane loot drop. Instantly, a massive server-wide broadcast pops up, flexing that he didn't just solo a bronze-tier boss but also skyrocketed straight to level 7. This huge flex sends shockwaves through the player base. One dude completely loses his mind, screaming about who this absolute tryhard is, and why he's hogging the entire server feed. Meanwhile, a girl is totally hyped for her boy, joking about when he's going to swoop in and marry the princess. Then there's a third player who's just super salty about the spam, brushing Yazi off as some desperate clout chaser. Cut to a high-rise penthouse, where a guy sipping fine wine is intensely plotting over this breaking news. He knows the name Yazi ties straight back to Dragon Realm mythology, convinced this kid is the real deal. If he could just recruit him into their squad, their guild's power level would absolutely go through the roof. Back with our boy, Yazi realizes his epic win just broke the internet, and he's definitely going to need to start wearing a mask to avoid the mob. Desperate for a breather, he taps a chair in his inventory, spawning it right in front of him. Sinking into it, he replays the whole boss fight in his head. That zombie cat's stats completely outclassed his own, and it took zero mistakes and pure sweat to put it down. Soloing a bronze-tier boss taking 0 damage, yeah, that's top-tier gamer level. But reality hits him. If a higher-tier boss rolls up next, he is going to be in deep trouble. Suddenly, the system chimes in, hyping him up for the server. He bags 3 attribute points, 1,000 gold coins, and a solid 1,000 reputation points. Pulling up his stat screen, he sees his reputation has spiked to 2,000 total points, alongside 5,000 gold coins and 4 free attribute points ready to spend. On top of all that, his inventory just expanded big time. But the real prize, a totally unique title, awarded strictly for snagging the very first bronze tier boss kill in this apocalyptic game. This bad boy buffs every single stat by 2 points. Plus, against regular bosses or anything under bronze tier, it nerfs their attributes by a flat 5%. The system then prompts player Yazi to trade his first blood title for the brand new bronze tier Annihilator title. Our surviving hero doesn't hesitate to make the swap, and those juicy new stats will lock in exactly 1 hour from now. Scanning his buffed stats, he realizes round 2 with that undead cat would be an absolute breeze. It hits him just how insane will his build get once he finally triggers his class evolution. Fast forward 30 minutes, and a rare loot drops from the fallen boss, a summoning horn. One blast from this bad boy calls forth that rage, letting him puppet the beast for a full 30 minutes. Realizing he just snagged a top-tier summon item, he knows he hit the absolute jack, securing a permanent combat buddy to watch his back. He squats down to harvest the rest of the monster's carcass. The pelt, the meat, and those deadly claws, pure crafting material for epic gear, survival rations, or lethal weapons. This undead kitty is a literal goldmine, so he scoops up every last drop, tossing it into his inventory for later. Finally, he pulls up to the warehouse, hoarding the hidden silver chest, pushing the heavy doors open. He steps into a bone-chilling graveyard of human remains. Yeah, that cat had some seriously twisted hobbies. A normal guy would puke at this gruesome sight. A cat collecting eyeballs. That is straight out of a horror flick. Convinced that the feline psycho stashed its real treasure in this bloodbath, he starts tearing the place apart. Right off the bat, he spots a goofy cat wand dangling tiny toy fish. Except for this random toy, the rest of the stash is absolute garbage, totally killing his vibe. Refusing to take an L, he digs through a pile of creepy white clothes, shoving the rags aside. Boom, there it is. The elusive silver chest. The system instantly pings, rewarding him with 20 rep points for the find. A prompt pops up asking if he wants to crack it open with a 60-second countdown, and he hits yes without missing a beat. The lid pops, instantly buffing his inventory space. But wait, there is more. He bags 50 XP, a shiny new skill book, and a sick white-winged cape. His jaw drops, the skill book flashes silver tier. It holds the double explosive strike ability, locked to the warrior class, letting him chain 2 brutal hits that trigger a massive blast. He smirks. This skill is straight fire and perfectly matches his hyper-aggressive warrior playstyle. Still, he admits the mechanics are tricky. A noob would totally fumble this 2-hit combo, trying to land those critical strikes, but he is built different. Right on cue, the system scans the epic skill and asks if he wants to equip it. He smashes that confirm button instantly. Skill locked in, he grabs the white-winged cape for a quick vibe check. This silver tier gear is woven from the feathers of legendary rare birds, buffing his agility by a solid 2 points. Plus, packed with a hidden enchantment, it grants him the ability to glide, letting him drift gracefully and hang in the air, mid-jump or right before touching down. Yazi is hyped by the drip and its insane utility, throwing it on immediately. Looking back, that cat fight was a massive W. Originally, his only endgame for this night run was to wipe out Li Haobo, but that goal feels way too small now. Nah, he is going to obliterate the entire Li family. With his new mindset, locked in only one hurdle remains clearing the mandatory Golden Finger System quest. Kicking things off, he struts up to a random door and bangs on it, pulling aggro from all nearby zombies, letting a few feathers drift from his cape. He decides to strike first. He dashes straight into the brain-dead mob, drawing his blade and charging up a heavy strike as he leaps, catching mad air with his new wings. He plunges his sword right through the monsters, one-shotting them like it is nothing. Hovering like an absolute boss, he slices through the horde, flexing his insane sword mastery. Suspended above a staggering zombie, he decides it is the perfect time to test his new skill. Swinging his wild new explosive blade, he unleashes a literal... He is absolutely hyping up this new weapon skill as the blade slams right into a zombie. It straight up vaporizes the monster, setting off a massive shockwave in a split second. He quickly throws his cloak over himself to tank the blast, but the raw force of the explosion sends him flying backward to dodge, taking any actual damage. He stabs his sword deep into the dirt, gripping it tight to break his slide. He suddenly realizes the stats on that giant zombie he just clapped were 30% higher than his own. His strike speed was literally moving like a blur, but the impact hit way different. Now that the weapon test is over, it is time to lock in and take this fight seriously. After dropping 2 more zombies, he bags 2 XP points, plus 3 gold coins. From there, he just keeps farming XP and gold like crazy. No breaks at all. He eventually wipes out 100 zombies at the Medu Stadium, totally crushing his quest. As a drop, he scores a random golden finger item. The system then asks Yazi if he wants to claim his bronze tier reward. Our boy is honestly shook that he cleared out that many zombies so fast, so he smashes that claim button. He starts wondering if he completely used up his RNG luck today with all those insane drops because the reward turns out to be just basic resource cards. Staring down at a boring stack of cards, he decides to just chill for a sec. Then he double-checks the system note. Breaking down the choice between the bronze gear and the golden finger, he makes up his mind. He goes for the equipment first, saving his good luck rolls for the golden finger drop. So he pulls the bronze tier item and snags a slick vampiric ring. This beauty literally leeches stamina off enemies based on damage dealt. Yazi immediately realizes how busted this passive is. Turning attack damage straight into endless stamina is an insanely rare find. Since this gear is so top tier, he starts sweating, terrified he is going to pull total garbage from his golden finger box. The system chimes in explaining that every standard golden finger drop is actually super practical and guaranteed to buff the player. Hearing that our guy decides to just full send it and grab the random item, the system rolls the dice and absolutely shocks Yazi by handing him auto loot, a god tier skill that lets him scoop up everything dropped by dead zombies without lifting a finger. He can literally just vacuum up loot now, instantly claiming it all in real time. This is a massive relief since he was actually stressing about the crazy high drop rates slowing him down. He then asks the system if this broken skill is seriously only level 1. The system confirms it, adding that if he somehow pulls auto loot again, the skill would literally level up, boosting its range and unlocking even more crazy hidden effects. He realizes his RNG is actually insane right now, getting him hyped to see what other golden fingers do and what wild power he is going to pull next. Right after more zombie loot starts rolling in, throwing him a power bank, some snacks, and another guard eye. From now on, his drops just ping quietly on screen and instantly sort themselves into neat little categories in his inventory. Popping open his bag, he is low-key obsessed with how perfectly organized and detailed the auto-sorting is. But then it hits him. Brawling with that zombie cat and doing his gacha pulls just burned way too much daylight. Checking the clock, he is stressed, seeing how fast the hours completely vanished, leaving zero time to even grab a bite. He decides to sprint straight to the Lee family mansion, vaulting right out the window. Meanwhile, back at the estate, some dude in a sharp suit is just living it up completely unbothered until the grandfather clock chimes 1 p.m. Dead on the hour. Young Master Li Yaobo suddenly looks super ticked off for absolutely no reason. He straight up smacks the girl sitting next to him, fuming over why his squad still hasn't come back after wasting the entire morning, just trying to hunt down 2 measly people. His butler nervously stammers that the mercenary crew is stuck at the university, which is completely swarming with zombies, which is severely holding them up. Raging Li Yaobo starts whining about how he clapped a zombie earlier but didn't score a single drop of XP. He really thought that leveling up was going to somehow fix his hopelessly weak stats, even with his personal bodyguards doing all the heavy lifting so he could just steal the zombie kills. His XP gains were absolute trash. Right then, a shadowy figure pulled up to the mansion. It was the young master's uncle Rongzhan, making his grand return. Li Haobo instantly demanded to know if he tracked down his girl and that pesky orphan. His uncle dropped the news they secured the girl, but the guy was totally MIA. Li ordered his men to drag her inside, but his uncle dropped a massive bomb. She was already unalived, stuffed right inside his suitcase. The young master was utterly shooketh. Rong explained their tracking process. Following the breadcrumbs, they pressed one of Yao's buddies, which led them straight to the girl stashed in the school's storage room. Uncle Rong unzipped the luggage to reveal Jinghan's lifeless body to young Master Li. He casually noted that she wasn't just dead. She was dumped in a barrel surrounded by men's clothes covered in fake ketchup blood. Rong broke it down. She endured brutal torture before getting clipped with lethal strikes, hitting her major pressure points. He deduced that the perp had to be a master of traditional acupuncture, because the slashes were insanely precise, literally shredding her muscle tissue. A highly calculated torture method no ordinary cold-blooded hitman would ever use. Rong questioned why Li was so convinced the mastermind hated Yao and posed a direct threat to the Li family. Furious, the young master figured the only absolute psycho who would do this to the student was Lindsay Luo. But literally a second later, he backtracked, calling cap on his own theory. The kid was just an orphan with zero muscle to pull off something this savage. Plus, he wasn't the one who leaked that surprise video, meaning he had no clue Yao was stepping out on him. Hearing that the kid was actually Lin Tian's son, Uncle Rong admitted it could definitely be him, maybe running with a partner in crime. To handle an assassin this cracked, they needed to beef up their security. Li Haobo scoffed, asking if his own uncle wasn't OP enough. After all, he was literally a top 10 master in the realm and commanded a whole mercenary squad. Still, he ordered more guards on deck, and his uncle nodded, telling the young master to get some sleep. Rong promised he would ride or die to protect the family bloodline. Meanwhile, Yazi had been speedrunning level 3 zombies, instantly hitting level 8 way faster than he originally planned. He was literally 12 hours ahead of schedule. Pulling up to the Lee family mansion, the ultimate boss fight against Li Haobo was finally on. Dozens of heavily strapped soldiers locked down the perimeter, but their patrols totally missed our MC sliding in. Perched high in a tree, he did a ninja drop and tapped a hidden switch on the ground. His past life memories clutched up, locating the secret mechanism that instantly popped open a hidden hatch. This was Li Haobo's personal panic room exit. He instantly recognized the Li family's signature military playbook: trap everyone inside, but always leave one back door open. Facing Haobo's private army, this time Yazi wondered if he could actually take the W. He quickly realized this army was the exact same mercenary squad, his bitter ops from a past life. That massive glitch in the Matrix meant he knew exactly how these guys moved. He hadn't studied their exact formation back then, but creeping down this tunnel, his stealth mission felt like a breeze, effortlessly spotting all their security loopholes. Suddenly Yazi got a massive jump scare. Rongzhan just pulled up. The guy was an absolute unit, a literal god of war. Yazi remembered how right after the apocalypse kicked off, Rongzhan started aggressively hunting him down on Haobo's orders. When the low-level minions kept failing, Rong went rogue and hunted solo. But Yazi finessed him hard, trolling the guy by faking a swan dive off a mountain, escaping multiple times and completely destroying Rong's reputation as a top-tier tracker. The bad blood was real, absolute on-site energy between them. Rong almost caught him lacking. But Yazi's reflexes kicked in, dodging out of sight behind a massive pillar. In this showdown, he was dead set on taking Rongzhan out, totally destroying the Li family's ultimate weapon, jacking up his odds of wiping them all off the map. Just as Rong and his goons zeroed in on that pillar, Yazi was already ghosting them. Right on cue, a merc shouted out that Li Haobo needed to see his uncle. Knowing this was his golden ticket, Yazi bolted from the spot like lightning. A chill ran down Rong's spine as he felt someone lurking behind the concrete. Still, he locked down the entire mansion, swearing nobody was making it out alive. The clock ticked by painfully slowly, and right at midnight, the spoiled young master started whining about needing his beauty sleep. He argued the undead were still swarming outside, so no assassin was crazy enough to pull up now. But Uncle Rong forced him to stay wide awake, trusting his gut feeling. The rich kid threw a total fit, dying of boredom, and refusing to pull an all-nighter for some coward hiding in the shadows. Catching the vibe, the butler pitched the idea of some late-night entertainment. That instantly sparked the kid's interest, hyping him up to kill time. While waiting for their uninvited guest, he asked his uncle about that captured walker. Rong nodded, laying out how it was strictly for heavy weapons research. But the brat clapped back, saying since the streets were crawling with them anyway, he wanted to play with this specific one first. The older man sweated the risks, yet at the exact same time, he figured it was the perfect distraction to chill him out. Haobo brushed off the danger, totally flexing that he wasn't scared even if the monster went absolute psycho thanks to his squad of elite bodyguards. Finally caving in, Rong signaled a guard to drag out the infected they bagged earlier that afternoon, just to keep the kid grinning. Moments later, a crew stomped in, wrestling down a massive, absolute unit of a zombie. Wrapped in heavy chains, the beast thrashed around with pure rage. Right after the young master demanded his giant iron cage, his lackeys scrambled to drag out the cell, revealing terrified girls locked up inside. Then he started ringing this sick golden bell, sending the prisoners into a total panic, because they knew exactly what that sound meant. Flashing a psycho smirk, the rich kid strutted over to the cage, mocking them with disgusting gestures before ordering a soldier to toss him the keys. The mercs blindly obeyed, handing it over, as the brat geared up to swing the door wide open. The other guys shoved the walker closer and ripped off its iron muzzle. He barked at the room to chill out and wait for whoever was supposed to unchain the beast's legs and shove it inside. Out of nowhere, somebody spoke up. They called out the twisted cruelty, questioning why he wouldn't just let the girls walk free. Seeing the master's face instantly twist in pure rage, a veteran staffer scrambled to apologize, sweating bullets as he explained the guy was just a clueless rookie running his mouth. Haobo slowly locked eyes with the new guy, asking who gave him the right to boss him around. The older staff member literally begged on his knees, pleading to spare the rookie's life, fully blowing off the desperate cries. The young master smirked, noting it had been a hot minute since anyone actually had the guts to challenge his authority. He sneered, asking if this Wang Dahu kid could throw hands before ordering his thugs to pin him down. The goons lunged instantly, ready to rain punches on the fresh meat, but dropping everyone's jaws, the rookie effortlessly blocked a 2-on-1 combo without taking a single scratch to the face. This crazy flex of power instantly caught Uncle Rong's eye, genuinely impressing him. The meathead whose punch got shut down stood completely paralyzed, his brain failing to process how he just lost a muscle contest against a nobody. Swallowing absolute embarrassment, he roared that the kid was totally dead meat, and flagged down two more heavily armed mercs to crush him. The rest of the crew started roasting the guy nicknamed Gorilla, joking that he wasted all his stamina chasing girls, which was why he got clapped by some random untrained guard. Then they completely locked down the rookie, trapping his arms tight. With his target defenseless, Gorilla charged in like a tank, smashing a brutal hook right into the rookie's jaw. He just kept hammering away, while voices screamed out to stop before he killed the kid. Surprisingly, that order came straight from the young master himself, and his goons were all in. The boss smirked, telling Wang that since he wanted to play the hero, he'd get a front row seat to their absolute destruction. So the guards dragged Wang right up to the iron cage, dropping him there just as they unhooked the massive zombie's heavy chains. 3 heavy-hitting mercs shoved the hulking beast into the pen using stun batons. The girls inside were completely terrified, watching this unchained monster stumble in, literally drooling with pure rage. Wasting zero time, the beast lunged straight for one of them, and brutally took her out of the picture. Wang just watched, tears streaming down his face, completely paralyzed by how useless he felt in that moment. After screaming his lungs out, the guards finally ripped off his gag. Dahu just gave up, collapsing to his knees as reality hit him. Spotting this, Li Haobo barked the order to toss him into the meat grinder. He mocked the guy, saying since Wang supposedly had super strength, he totally needed to square up against their absolute strongest mutant. The mercs instantly hyped up their young master's twisted brainwave, hyping him up and saying nobody else knew how to throw such an insanely entertaining show. They aggressively grabbed Wang Dahu and dragged him toward the steel trap, while the remaining girls were getting completely dusted, one by one, by the raging beast. Finally, they tossed the bruised kid right into the danger zone, where the massive roided-out monster was already giving him a wildly sadistic glare. The towering freak started stomping toward the rookie. Right then, Wang had a major flashback to his mom begging him to stay safe, crying her eyes out while waiting for him back home. He legit thought he'd never see her face again. But then a spark hit him. It wasn't his time to get deleted yet, exactly because his mom was holding out for him. Fueled by this insane new drive, he scrambled to his feet and uppercut the zombie straight on the jaw, completely catching it off guard. Then, Wang locked his arms around the monster's thick torso, trying to body slam it, channeling pure, desperate adrenaline. He actually managed to launch the heavy creature straight into the iron bars, but suddenly, blood started dripping down his own chin. He was totally confused, unable to process what just happened. That's when the horrifying realization hit. The monster had literally buried its claws deep into his stomach, leaving him critically wrecked. Meanwhile, the twisted young master, watching from outside, thought this gory show was absolute peak entertainment. Even on the brink, our boy refused to fold. He clamped one hand over his gaping wound and kept swinging wildly at the freak with his other fist. The exact second Wang finally collapsed, the beast crashed down right beside him, completely knocked out. Wang started tearing up, whispering in his mind, telling his mom how sorry he was for messing up so bad. Uncle Rong sighed, calling it a huge waste, while the mercs complained the kid got clapped way too fast. But out of nowhere, the rookie's broken body started glitching out. Pitch-black veins popped across his skin. His eyes flared, a glowing crimson, and razor-sharp fangs snapped. Cut to our main guy, Lin, who immediately clocked that this was the ultimate opening. He ghosted up behind a lone guard and quietly put him to sleep. He quickly stripped the guy's gear, and the fresh fit worked like magic to trick the patrol squad. He played it cool, claiming he caught some dude snoozing on the job. The other guards started whining, complaining how the top brass got to party while they were stuck doing the grunt work. Our sneaky hero totally agreed, nodding that the big bosses treated them like actual trash. But then one of the grunts noticed this supposed oddie looked way taller than normal, and his alarm bells started ringing. Somewhere else, Li Haobo scoffed, saying a total fool who leaks secret intel totally deserves to be permanently silenced. While the tension spiked, our hero just kept stealthily dropping guards left and right. But one of those goons actually managed to pop off a flare into the sky to alert the Li family, moving at crazy speed. Lin sniped the flare right out of the air with a throwing knife, completely blocking the signal. This totally triggered flashbacks of his desperate hunt for Li family ammo back in his past life. Now, with the villain's mansion located and the perimeter guards totally wiped, Lin's epic revenge arc was officially kicking off. Right on cue, the system popped up, triggering a super rare grudge mission. Beyond just his hardcore thirst for payback, the insane loot drop attached to this quest was all the extra motivation our hero needed to accept the challenge and start hunting. This invisible barrier automatically tracks anyone trying to flee the zone, totally freezing their senses in the process. This crazy tech was actually deployed back during the brutal war between the Dragon Continent and Japan, an incredibly dark era where the entire nation of Japan was drowning in absolute despair. Anyone trying to dip from the capital was getting hunted down. Yazi figured today was the ultimate vibe check to test out his new gear. The system popped up, hyping him up for kicking off the mission and wishing him the best of luck. Out of nowhere, his body count tracker spiked to 9, and Lin had not even lifted a finger yet. Totally shook, he sprinted straight for the mansion to see what kind of chaos was going down inside. Meanwhile, the Lee family was sweating bullets facing off against some dude named Crocodile who had just absolutely wrecked their entire squad of girls. Crocodile started totally mocking the family guards, practically begging them to step up and play. He kept throwing shade until Rong finally snapped and got on his feet. Rong was getting hit with a suffocating heavy aura he had never felt before. The young master of the Lee family was literally shaking in his boots, realizing this guy was here to completely delete them from existence. The head butler stepped in to chill him out, promising he was totally safe with Rong and the hired muscle standing by as his personal shield. But they already knew the threat was lurking right there in the mansion. After absolutely steamrolling every single guard outside, Rong was sweating, thinking that even if their outside guards were basically NPCs soloing, all of them meant this intruder had to be some kind of absolute unit. Right on cue, our boy crashed the party coldly, announcing he was just a regular guy playing the Grim Reaper tonight, without missing a beat. The leftover mercs started scrambling to hunt Yazi down, but then bam, a flashbang bounced right into their squad. The second that thing popped off, everyone got hit with the blinding white light and went into full panic mode, riding that massive wave of pure chaos. Our main guy casually strolled right into the room, leaking off an absolutely insane bomb. He fired up his summoned bracelet, triggering the Thorn Strike ability. Spikes shot out like crazy, instantly wiping the floor with every single goon in that room. Next up, he whipped out his boomerang sword, slicing straight through another wave of guards like absolute butter, before glitching right behind Uncle Rong like a ghost, casually dropping another explosive right. Boom! The second grenade went off, turning the whole spot into a literal blazing inferno. Through the smoke, our masked MC just walked right out, looking completely untouched and icy as hell. Rong barely even caught a glimpse of this dude, and half his squad was already resting in pieces. One of the servants actually recognized that brutal thorn magic that almost flatlined them all. He was freaking out, screaming that only elite-tier operators packed that kind of boomerang sword. Rong urgently demanded a head count. The servant checked and stuttered out that they only had 66 guys still standing, plus another 10 heavily injured. Cut to Li Haobo, who was completely losing his mind. He was shook frantically, wondering who the heck just totally griefed his entire master plan. Seething with pure rage, he demanded payback right then and there. He barked orders to sweep the entire place, even if this masked guy was some kind of absolute demon. But the sharp-eyed butler could feel it, the hunter was still crazy close, just camping in the shadows, silently watching their every move. Our guy definitely didn't expect the butler's radar to be that locked in. Still, Yazi was 100% confident he could wipe the floor with the rest of them and walk away clean, predicting that easily half the squad would try to body block for Li and smuggle him out. He quickly pulled up the stats windows on the butler, Zhao Qiguang and Rong Jun immediately clocking that these dudes were packing bronze. Sensing a tiny pause, Rong puffed out his chest and screamed at him to stop camping like a coward and pull up to fight. Yeah, right. Lin didn't fall for that basic bait for a second. He knew exactly what this was, a cheap distraction to buy Li Haobo enough time to dip. Not about to let that slide, our MC whipped out the zombie cat horn and summoned his creepy little beast right on the spot. Instantly, he chucked a throwing knife straight into the massive chandelier, sending it crashing down in a storm of glass. Between the razor-sharp shards and the feral zombie cat going absolutely goblin mode, the grunts started dropping like flies. Meanwhile, our hero was just beautifully chaining sword combos, completely shredding through the remaining mercs. In the blink of an eye, the entire room was put to sleep. Only Rong Jun was left standing. Sweating profusely, Rong stared down the masked menace, his jaw on the floor because his system was completely blocked from reading the end. He stammered, demanding to know who this monster was trying to act tough by warning him not to get too cocky. Yazi just scoffed. He mocked their garbage tier skills, dragging them for skipping training for years. Honestly, taking out trash this week wasn't even worth his energy. But whatever, he was feeling generous. He promised to give them a front row seat to true despair. With an insane burst of speed, he dashed at the stragglers. In one flawless, slick motion, he instantly clapped multiple guards at once. He slammed on the brakes right in front of Rong Jun, who completely lost his nerve and collapsed straight to his knees. Looming over him, the masked man coldly promised that Li Haobo and his little crew were next on the chopping block. He smoothly triggered the vengeance barrier, locking down the zone to guarantee Lee could not scurry away too far. Grasping at straws, Rong tried to push back, screaming that he wasn't even the boss and the whole Merc squad was already wiped anyway. Yazi just leaned in. He chillingly explained that the absolute best part of a revenge arc, deleting all the lackeys first, purely to mentally break the boss before you even touch him. Totally broken, Rong sobbed and begged for a name. He pleaded, saying he just did not want to die without knowing who ended him. Our boy just looked down at him, ice in his veins. He whispered that dying full of miserable regrets was actually the perfect. Totally shutting down Rong's pathetic final wish, a single brutal knife strike flashed out, putting him to sleep for good. As the body dropped, Yazi's mind flashed back to the day this exact same dude violently stepped on his head, spitting in his face and calling him a worthless orphan worm. Karma hits fast. Payback time was in full swing. He low-key thanked Rong for teaching him a crucial lesson: never monologue in front of your ops. It just invites trouble. Seeing that dude take his last breath full of absolute regret, yeah, Yazi called that an absolute win. With Rong out of the picture, the Lee family was officially bleeding power. Taking them down just got a whole lot easier. He ghosted from the scene, leaving nothing but a trail of wrecked goons in his wake. Meanwhile, Lee was sweating bullets, praying he had lost his pursuers. His butler tried to hype him up, swearing that Rong would handle the threat. But right on cue, boom, one of his bodyguards got absolutely launched through the drywall. Lee instantly assumed Lin Ziluo had hired a top-tier hitman. I mean, whoever this was had already clapped Yao, and was now zeroing in on him. He was losing his mind trying to figure out how they got intel on his connection with Yao, or how Lin scored such an OP mercenary. To Lee, the math wasn't mathing. His crew had already wiped Lin's dad and his entire bloodline off the map. He bragged that if some mysterious boss hadn't stepped in, that kid would have been buried right alongside the rest of his family. Suddenly, the assassin spoke up. Lee's blood ran cold. That voice. It was Lin Ziluo. Shook to his core, Lee panicked, wondering how the kid actually tracked him to this secret hideout. Our boy finally realized Lee had been keeping tabs on him this whole time. Talk about throwing gasoline on his burning need for revenge. Staring him down, Lee spat that he should have sent a cleanup crew to finish him off ages ago. Lin wasn't having it. He pressed him hard on that little slip of the tongue regarding his family's total wipeout. The spoiled young master just sneered, laughing that Lin totally deserved to hit rock bottom, especially since the dude didn't even know his own father's real name. He dropped the lore bomb. Lin Jian, the kid's dad, was next in line for a massive promotion, but instead he snitched on Lee's dad, completely trashing the family's master plan they had been cooking up for years. For that ultimate betrayal, he got exactly what was coming to him. Lai flexed again, repeating that without the big boss's direct orders, Lin would never have been the lone survivor. Then he tried to wrap his head around how this kid scored such heavy-hitting backup, and how he ghosted right past all the elite security. If he actually pulled this off solo. Lin's response, ice cold. He told him to keep yapping because he was about to turn the entire Li bloodline to absolute ash. The young master just cackled, calling him delusional. There was zero chance one kid could solo his entire empire. Big mistake. Right at that exact second, our boy kicked the door straight off its hinges and stormed in. Mask on, creepy zombie cat right by his side. The butler didn't hesitate, launching a brutal strike at the intruder to protect his spoiled boss. But the undead cat lunged right for the butler's throat, but the old guy actually managed to shove it back. Yazi checked his mental clock, exactly 30 minutes left before his summon despawns for good. Time for the big reveal. He ripped off his mask, dropping everyone's jaws to the floor. The Phantom Hitman. Yeah, it was just him this whole time. The young master's brain completely short-circuited seeing Lin's face. He was tweaking, screaming that it was physically impossible for this nobody to have the raw stats to pack up his uncle and infiltrate their fortress. Lin just smirked, explaining that as long as that sweet 7-day newbie protection system is active, their pathetic skills literally can't even scratch him. The rich kid was still in deep denial, freaking out over how Lin got this insanely buffed. Our hero didn't care. He straight up declared that he alone was more than enough to permanently cancel their entire family. Announcing that the old-timer was going down first, he locked in and blitzed straight for the butler. He threw a massive haymaker, but plot twist, the butler actually tanked the hit, crossing his arms to block. Lin raised an eyebrow. The old man was secretly built different. An impact like that would have instantly folded Rongjian, proving this grandpa was the only one in the room who could actually throw hands. Tired of playing games, the butler literally ripped his suit cleanly off, flexing a shockingly shredded bodybuilder physique. Game on. Lin gripped his blade, ready to slice this final boss into pieces. The old butler ducks the hit, crying about dirty tricks. But our guy is totally locked in to wipe them out, casually hurling his explosive broadsword straight at him. The blade just grazes the old man's shoulder, barely leaving a scratch. But wait, that sword hooks right back like a boomerang, slicing super deep into his arm from behind. The butler is absolutely shook. 50 years grinding martial arts just to get totally wrecked in seconds. He violently shakes his head, refusing to take the L. But boom, the blast goes off right in his face. Zilluo doesn't miss a beat. He sprints right through the smoke, gripping his blade tight. He mutters that he can't give these guys even an inch to breathe. And he won't chill until every last enemy is totally wiped. Zilluo actually laughs at the old man's stubbornness. Bro really thought fancy martial arts moves mattered in the middle of a literal apocalypse. Stepping over the butler, he takes a beat to think. Raw strength just isn't enough out here. You gotta read the room and control the chaos or you're straight up toast. Spotting the rich kid Lee shaking on the floor, Zilluo just calls him pathetic. Without blinking, he drives his sword right through Lee's leg, making him squeal like a pig. Honestly tired of the rich boy's acting, our hero violently jams the blade in a few more times just for kicks. Between terrified shrieks, the brat tries acting tough, screaming that his daddy will totally end him. But a second later, he's sobbing and begging for a quick way out. Zilluo flashes a dark smirk, agreeing to grant his wish. Then he pulls a dull, super rusty dagger straight out of his stash. He sarcastically apologizes that the blade is so blunt it barely pierces skin. Stabbing down, he growls, "This one's for me. That's for 10 years of absolute hell." He coldly drops the fact that Lee's agony isn't even 1% of what he went through. 10 years. The rich kid looks mega confused. He'd only messed with Zilluo for the past 3 years. Plunging the rusty dagger into the boy's arm again, Zilluo spits, "Yeah, that one's for me too. And this one, just because I feel like it." He strikes again. "This one's for the Lin family I never got to meet and to avenge my old man." He keeps stabbing, fully dropping any deep meaning, admitting he's just enjoying the payback. Finally, he yanks a nasty little tool from his inventory and snaps it right onto Lee's tongue as the kid wildly panics. Zilluo leans in, whispering that Lee actually invented this very trick, using it to silence tons of innocent people back in the day. Before the brat can even mumble a word, he brutally rips the tongue out. Even with Lee violently thrashing and crying rivers, Zilluo shows zero mercy. Noticing his target suddenly stop moving, he casually asks if the kid's already tapped out. He mocks him, saying this little warm-up is absolutely nothing compared to the sick nightmares Lee pulled off in his past life. After landing a few more savage hits, he realizes Lee isn't faking it, bro, really just blacked out. His brain literally crashed because his body couldn't handle the pain. "Guess I gave you too much credit," Zilluo scoffs. Just to guarantee this spoiled brat is permanently offline, he whips out his double explosive blades. Popping open an umbrella to block the incoming gore, he steps onto the mansion's balcony, vibing with the gorgeous night city view while the room goes boom behind him. Suddenly a crisp system ping drops. The vengeful heart talent has just unlocked, triggered by his massive shift in mindset. Zilluo raises an eyebrow, totally confused by this new perk. The system chimes in, clarifying that talents and skills are two completely different beasts. You can grind skills from reading books, but talents, those only wake up based on your inner vibes, stats, and raw emotional state. This vengeful heart trait guarantees that every single grudge gets settled in blood. And the second he locks onto a confirmed hater, his overall stats get a massive buff, instantly jumping up by 20%. Zilluo is honestly hyped. He never expected a passive drop to be this overpowered. A flat 20% boost to base stats is absolutely insane. Usually base stats only creep up bit by bit. But when you stack them with broken talents like this, the scaling goes completely off the charts. He realizes this perk can keep leveling up indefinitely, meaning he basically just struck the ultimate jackpot. Moving on, our guy successfully sweeps through all 269 members of the Lee clan, officially crossing off his ultimate revenge quest. To sweeten the deal, the Golden Finger system gifts him a random mystery box, along with a guaranteed bronze tier item. When the prompt asks if he wants to pull his loot right now, he smashes the confirm button without hesitating. The random bronze drop turns out to be a magic wand, giving a solid boost to both spell damage and cast speed. But our boy is completely locked out of using it simply because he isn't a mage class. So he stashes this high-tier loot away. The plan: flip it on the market later for a massive payday. He also realizes that his cheat skills auto-loot feature is insanely overpowered, since he never has to stress about dropping rare gear. Regular players have to manually strip bodies if they spot something shiny. He knows he needs to abuse this looting window right now before the rest of the server figures out how the mechanics actually work. He figures this is just the system's sneaky way of nerfing player versus player combat. Popping open his inventory, his eyes lock onto a purification necklace. It's a bronze tier relic that literally cleanses skill cooldowns and buffs up the spirit stat, wiping out nasty debuff. But honestly, the stats just don't hit as hard as his meditation necklace. Seeing that the other two drops are pretty much garbage, Yazi tosses them into storage for now, and commands the system to roll the gacha on his cheat ability. The system buffers for a hot second before locking in the pull. Boom. Yazi just scored a zombie enslavement skill. As long as the monster's strength doesn't outscale his own, the undead will become his absolute puppet, fighting and dying for him. His jaw literally drops. In his entire past life, nobody ever managed to control the infected. Never. Yazi actually pinches himself just to make sure he isn't hallucinating, because this kind of hack is way too good to be true. His brain instantly goes into overdrive, scheming up a master plan built entirely around his new brain-dead bodyguard. This means he's totally done doing the grunt work himself. Ever since Yao completely backstabbed him, Yazi has massive trust issues, planning to go lone wolf for the rest of his life. So snagging a mindless zombie that does all the heavy lifting with zero complaints, it's exactly what his traumatized soul needs. He quickly asks the system what kind of insane buffs he'd unlock if he grinds out the levels on this enslavement skill. The system chimes in, explaining that for every single level up, his undead army expands by 1 extra zombie slot. Hearing this, Yazi's mind goes absolutely wild, picturing an unstoppable personal zombie horde ready to crash out on his command. Though to reach that god tier status, he knows he has got to grind this skill heavily. He starts wondering just what kind of freaks he can capture, and if he could actually raise an undead emperor. Once they're brainwashed, Yazi honestly isn't sure if they'll hit the same monstrous power levels they did in his previous timeline. But he shelves those thoughts for later, making his way down into the mansion's basement to scout around. He kicks the door open, and his eyes practically glow looking at the massive stash of jewelry and high-end valuables locked inside. But let's be real, in the middle of a literal apocalypse, all this shiny junk is totally worthless. Suddenly, he remembers that specific calligraphy, hidden in a few of these ancient paintings, becomes incredibly valuable later on. He just can't pinpoint exactly which ones. So he just bags the artwork anyway, grabbing a few flex-worthy gem-studded knives on the side, walking out of the vault. Yazi scopes out his surroundings. Never experiencing this kind of insane luxury in either of his lifetimes, he decides to crash at the mansion for the night. But right on cue, a massive, hulking walker blocks his path. At first glance, Yazi doesn't even realize it's infected. He genuinely thinks it's just a beefy survivor from the Lee family. Nope. It quickly clicks that this is a level 4 zombie rocking 25 strength and a terrifying super strength passive. Yazi instantly spots how busted this monster is. With stats like these, this thing is guaranteed to mutate into a bronze tier boss by nightfall. The timing is literally too perfect, considering he just unlocked his zombie taming hack. Staring down the beast, Yazi bangs on the iron bars, taunting the walker to come take a bite. Checking its stats, and seeing its spirit is sitting at an embarrassing 3. He figures this guy must have been a total meathead when he was human. He quickly hits up the system, asking if he can actually claim a pet with stats this cracked. The system confirms it's a green light, since the zombie's brain power is basically 0 and its total stats don't overshoot Yazi's own limits. Realizing just how insanely overpowered this tank really is, Yazi actually gets a little jealous of this brain-dead monster's broken talent and stats. He throws his hand up right in the zombie's face and mentally commands the system to lock down the taming process. Honestly, the monster being totally brain-dead is a massive flex here, making him completely obedient. He locks in his choice. Instantly, this intense blood-red aura surges through the mutant's veins, but Yazi immediately senses the beast fighting back against the mind control. Sweat dropping, he catches that wild resistance and thinks, "Yo, is it too late to hit the undo button?" Boom. The taming fully clicks. Now he just needs to drop a sick name for his new sidekick. Looking at this absolute unit, massive, jacked, and rocking an epic tier super strength passive, Yazi dubs him Dasha. He actually managed to leash this powerhouse, meaning Dasha is now ride or die. This giant will literally tank fatal hits for him without a second thought. Moments later, a slick holographic status window pops up, flexing the beast's insane stats and skill tree. The system hits him with a quick disclaimer: Dasha can't use inventory space, and he definitely isn't farming any reputation points from bodying other undead. His leveling path is totally unique. Yazi steps back, wanting to see this brute flex his raw power, knowing damn well those steel bars won't hold him. Right on cue, Dasha grabs the thick iron bars and just peels them apart like wet cardboard, busting out of his cell with 0 effort. Yazi kinda expected a more explosive breakout, but honestly, it's already an absolute miracle that this monster is taking orders. He tosses a stat-boosting bracelet onto his new tank to buff his raw durability. The system chimes in warning that Dasha loses his nighttime stat buffs, but Yazi just shrugs it off. Because his base stats are already insanely broken. Everything's locked in. Yazi finally crashes, leaving his giant zombie to play bouncer at the front door. Morning hits. Our guy rolls out of bed, swings the door open, and finds his undead bodyguard standing there like a statue. He hypes Dasha up for pulling an all-nighter, then casually asks if he usually snacks on his own kind. The hulking beast shakes his head no. Yazi smirks. Turns out this giant is actually just a big softie. Moving on, our hero activates his supply cards to spawn a massive breakfast spread. While he's chowing down, he notices Dasha practically drooling a puddle onto the floor. The big guy is starving. Yazi slides a plate over. Low-key, mind-blown. A zombie that craves normal food instead of human flesh. That's unheard of. He piles on some extra portions, and Dasha totally lights up, plopping down to vibe and eat right next to him. Yazi is honestly just glad his new pet can help him clean up the massive feast, so he doesn't have to waste good loot. Now checking his progress. His original blueprint was to pack up Li Hao Bo around level 5 or 6, but he already crushed that revenge arc at level 8. With that out of the way, grinding basic dungeons is basically useless now. Armed with insanely overpowered gear and an absolute unit of a bodyguard, he can skip the side quests and rush straight to the Phantom's turf. The next target on the map, the Grand Museum in Magic City. That's where he can trigger his epic class advancement. He clearly remembers a hidden key there that unlocks a top-tier class change scroll, but snagging that loot won't be a walk in and survive a brutal gauntlet of trials. If the timer runs out before he clears it, the system literally deletes him from existence. In his past life, he only survived that nightmare because of Li Hao Bo. Back then, that snake and his squad pushed into Magic City, hunting for god-tier drops. That's exactly when Yazi found out Yao Jigan was stabbing him in the back. When he tried to snap back and get revenge, Lai bought out his 3 so-called buddies. They completely set him up, shoving him straight into that deadly trial zone. That's where a savage monster gave him his signature scar. They wanted him to bleed out, fail the test, and get wiped from reality. Out of pure spite, he clutched the win and survived, but had to wear that gnarly scar on his face for 10 whole years. In Timeline 1, all that drama went down on day 8 of the apocalypse, but since we are speedrunning and it's only day 4, he's betting the streets of Magic City will be a total ghost town. This time around, no traitorous scumbags blocking his path. It's gonna be a breeze. But as he watches his hulking zombie furiously chew his food, Yazi realizes having a literal mutant walking beside him might draw way too much aggro, so a light bulb goes off. Time for a little makeover. He decides to drip out his new undead pet in some slick high-end gear. We're talking a tailored suit, a classy fedora, dark shades, and tossing a sleek sword in his hand for good measure. Looking sharp. After the glow-up, they hit the road heading straight into the zombie-infested Museum of Modo. But the second they arrive, red flags pop up. The perimeter has already been breached. Someone beat him here. Instantly, on high alert, Yazi starts weaving silently through the horde of undead. Slicing through the mobs one by one with his blade, a system pop-up suddenly flashes, hyping up his kill streak. His loot, a one-time use bronze tier consumable, a literal fireball scroll. Our guy is totally pumped about this drop, since he can either cast the spell or just nuke the whole area. Isn't even throwing hands at the other monsters. Popping his wings, our boy ducks behind a concrete pillar to spy on the action, and realizes Dasha is completely chill. He literally only fights back if someone swings first. Honestly, that is a huge flex. The fact that the big idiot can just crack open chests without triggering a massive bloodbath is going to save them so much headache. But there is a massive catch. Any loot box Dasha opens drops 0 experience points and 0 items, which is a total waste of a grind. Deciding to just stop, he gets a massive flashback. In his past life, every single zombie got completely wiped off the map. But timeline changes mean right now it would be borderline impossible for just him and the big idiot to solo this entire horde. Glancing up at the museum's upper floors, he spots a random squad camping out, and a big brain play hits him. He could just send Dasha in to ninja loot the class change scroll. He can tell this group is desperate to hunt and jump the zombies, but their squad is way too small, sizing them up. Our main character pieces it together. The footprints he tracked earlier totally belong to these guys. So blending into their party to infiltrate the museum might just be the ultimate cheat code. Meanwhile, over at a heavily looted city mall, a massive mob of survivors is having a total meltdown. Their boss lady makes a hardcore call to rally 200 fighters, barking orders at everyone to lock and load. Her crew is absolutely losing their minds over this, screaming about why they have to wait for backup instead of pushing right now. They get straight up in her face, whining that they are starving and accusing her of trying to starve them out. just to hog all the loot. Not taking any disrespect, the boss lady unleashes a brutal slap, telling him to shut his trap. Stung, the guy bites back, screaming she is only acting tough because she is packing a bronze tier. Iron staff. He tries to act macho, claiming he will let the slap slide if she lets him run a solo raid, but she instantly shuts him down, swearing she won't bow to a total loser, and roasting him for being completely useless on the front lines. The soldier smirks, claiming he is only holding back right now because he is a so-called gentleman, but he drops a dark threat, swearing he will end her the second she slips up. The girl just completely claps back, embarrassing him further while he warns her not to cry about the consequences later. The surrounding crowd starts hyping the guy up to actually throw hands, but the boss totally kills the vibe, screaming at the peanut gallery to zip it and fall in line. But right at that insanely tense moment, our main character and Dasha literally kick the doors straight off the hinges. Striding in with his mask on, he instantly spots a familiar face. The squad leader, Gao Dong. The guy puffs out his chest, flexing, and casually invites them to join the Reapers. The main character's eyes go wide as he recognizes this dude, Gao Dong, totally shell-shocked that this guy is running things. Playing it cool, he introduces himself as Lin Jiluo and points to his giant sidekick as Big Idiot, making up a quick cover story that he is a mute bodyguard. Eating it up, Gao Dong, Lin Jiluo's hand officially welcoming them to the Reaper crew. Catching on to Gao Dong's massive NPC energy, Lin Jiluo realizes scamming this guy is going to be a total cakewalk. He honestly never expected infiltrating a faction to be this insanely easy, dropping a casual line about being in a guild before. Buying the act, Gao Dong promises to get them all set up at the base, even pulling out super rare skill books to boost their stats. He hits them with that brotherhood speech, swearing their ultimate goal is to smash the undead together. Lin Jiluo, being a total loot goblin, wonders if he can just bag the books for free, and Gao Dong actually falls for it, swearing that for a real bro he would drop this high-tier loot zero cost. Snatching the item, Lin Jiluo is genuinely stunned. Back in his past life, players were toxic and absolutely never handed out. The absolute second he cracks the book open, he unlocks the Berserk skill. The system pops up, warning that triggering this cracked mode, he would completely lose his mind, aggressively lashing out at absolutely everything in his path, while boosting his strength by 50%. He'd also black out for 2 solid minutes, basically turning into a mindless zombie, which made Jiluo figure that massive handicap would completely wreck his combat flow. Gao Dong totally owned up to the fact that the side effect was pure garbage, but argued it could be an absolute lifesaver in a clutch do-or-die moment. The guy then spilled that he handed over the skill book because he was secretly cooking up a scheme and wasn't nearly as clueless as he looked. Jiluo hit the president with a quick thanks for keeping it real and tossed the book right back to him. When our boy announced he was heading out to grind with his bro, he immediately caught on to Gao Dong's fake plastic smile. Right before they could dip, the president blocked their path, offering up a giant bucket of fried chicken as a peace offering. Our hero waved it off, claiming he had to go hunt zombies to level up, but honestly, it was all a massive mind game, and taking the food voucher just felt like stepping into a trap. Even so, Gao Dong aggressively shoved the card straight into Jiluo's hand, telling him to hit up the warehouse anytime the munchies kicked in. The duo bounced with a polite nod while Gao Dong shouted after them that if they ever needed backup, they just had to swing by the base. Watching them fade into the distance, the leader figured Jiluo was actually a super chill dude, since even after getting handed an absolutely useless skill book, he still looked incredibly hyped. Meanwhile, out on the streets, the brothers ran straight into a squad of shady-looking thugs. One of the guys stepped up, claiming he wasn't making a threat, just giving a friendly warning. He barked at Jiluo to stay the hell away from Gao Dong or face the music, acting like he owned the place. Without missing a beat, our hero snatched the goon's hand off his shoulder, viciously twisted it back, and tagged Big Idiot in to clean out the trash. The goons instantly drew their guns, completely sleeping on the giant, just because he was only rocking level 4 stats. Huge mistake. The zombie instantly went to work, absolutely obliterating the squad with zero effort, after dropping a bunch of them like flies. Jiluo smirked and asked if they had any more bright ideas. The entire crew was paralyzed with fear, unable to squeak out a single word. The surviving grunts quickly spilled everything, explaining that their boss, Jia Tai, was desperate to usurp Gao Dong but was actually just a pawn Gao Dong used to keep everyone else in check. Cut back to the base where the leader strolled in sarcastically, asking if his crew had literally nothing better to do. A terrified lackey rushed up and whispered the crazy news in his ear. Gao Dong's jaw dropped as he asked if Jiluo and his brother actually wiped out Jia Tai's entire crew. The goons admitted they were totally clueless about the new guy, only knowing he rolled with a massive tank he called Idiot. Gao Dong just chuckled, realizing our hero had pulled a massive solid for him, publicly deleting Jia Tai. Played perfectly into his hands, sending a brutal message that secured his spot as the absolute top dog of the club. Wrapping things up, Gao Dong ordered his boys to scrape up the boss's remains, give him a proper burial, and loot all his gear. Meanwhile, our main character and his loyal zombie pet Big Idiot are just chilling in a random room killing time. He hits up the system with a quick reality check, asking if this zombie could ever snap and try to end him. But the system shuts that fear right down, confirming that under normal vibes, zero betrayal is happening. The undead tank is hard-coded to protect its master at all costs. Glancing over, Zalua watches Big Idiot miserably failing to grab a snack. The protagonist knows he has absolute control over this monster, even holding the trigger for a berserk mode that skyrockets its stats. He then tosses a glowing skill book at the zombie, commanding him to grind those pages and learn up, because the endgame here is hitting level 10, unlocking a class change, and becoming stupidly overpowered. With the ultimate blueprint locked in, he decides to test drive that berserk skill on Big Idiot, while simultaneously farming some sweet experience points by slaughtering the local undead horde. He makes a beeline for the library, a hunting ground he used to absolutely dominate in his past life. The second he gets there, he spots a sketchy door flashing the words, Game Shop. The moment our guy smashes the button, a system prompt pops up to welcome the player. But suddenly, Lin suddenly spawns into this slick, glowing cyberpunk void, totally flooded with floating holographic stats, breaking down crazy masks, sick weapons, and god-tier loot. He checks his stash and realizes he's sitting on a fat stack of 6,000 coins. And just 2,000 is enough to cop a solid bronze-tier item. But our boy's eyeing the ultimate prize, decking himself out in that complete badass armor set. Right as he's about to hit checkout, this gnarly decaying hand literally phases through the interface. Lin jerks back, barely dodging a swipe from the undead freak. The shop system didn't glitch out, a rogue zombie actually crashed his safe zone. The monster lunges straight for his throat. Lin's completely shook since spawning a hostile mob. Inside the virtual cash shop is some wild glitch that literally never happened in his past life. He hesitates for a split second, wondering if the game system is shielding this intruder. But the second the zombie rushes him, our guy locks in, outspeeds the creep, dropping it like an absolute fly. Without breaking a sweat, he triggers the auto-loot mechanic, sweeping up the monster's drops while praying for a sick weapon or some OP gear. But bro gets totally trolled. The system hands him a literal roll of toilet paper, which is actually a rare resource card. Shaking his head, he dumps his 6,000 coins into the shop, and the second the transaction clears, the game store shuts down. The virtual void shatters, so he grabs his fresh loot and turns to check on his giant dummy sidekick. Turns out, while Lin was shopping, his zombie bro went absolute beast mode, completely obliterating a swarm of monsters trying to ambush them. Lin flexes his new auto-loot feature, hyping up how insanely broken it is, since he never has to stress about missing a single dropped item again. Catching his breath during the downtime, he pulls up his inventory to inspect his fresh haul. First up is this creepy, worn-out scarecrow, which is basically a god-tier extra life. It literally tanks any fatal damage meant for our main guy. Next is a heavy-duty boxing glove designed for insane rapid-fire combo chains, scaling up its damage multiplier with every single punch. He instantly realizes this glove has the exact same explosive vibe as his explosive dual blades, meaning every strike. On top of all that madness, he scored a scaling broadsword, which, if you totally ignore its sketchy debuff, is easily one of the most cracked bronze-tier weapons in the game. Hyped up, he equips the gauntlet and decides it is time to risk it all with his ultra-rare fusion stone. His big brain play smashing his two swords together. This stone could instantly max out his gear's level, but if his RNG is trash, it could completely nerf his weapons into the ground. Even though his cheat system only guarantees god-tier drop rates and nothing else, he gambles anyway, slamming the fusion stone down, knowing he could brick his entire build. He is praying that merging the ring sword with his massive horizontal blade will forge an absolutely legendary weapon. The holographic screen flashes, stating both base items will be destroyed forever, but our guy hits confirm without blinking. The loading bar slaps him with a 30-minute cooldown, so he and the big dummy just chill out and crush some snacks. When the timer finally pings, a blinding light reveals a silver-tier demon decapitation sword. Lin is completely mind-blown. He instantly lunges forward to inspect his new deadly toy, and after seeing its raw damage output is literally multiplied by 4. With a massive buff to clean beheadings, he is instantly hyped to get back on the monster-slaying grind. He and his giant sidekick storm back into the library to snag the scroll they ditched earlier. But this time around, Lin tells his zombie bro to completely take the training weights off and violently execute every single hostile lurking in the library. Dacha goes feral, ruthlessly tearing through the mob wave like wet paper while Lin flexes his shiny new blade to carve through the rest. He is literally wiping out entire squads in one single swing, heavily abusing the sword's wildly OP whirlwind mechanic. The massive experience boost finally pushes him to level 9, bagging him a fresh attribute point. He is pumped about the level up, but totally freezes when he turns and sees Dacha mutated into a colossal towering giant, rocking glowing blood-red eyes. Lin starts sweating, wondering if his giant buddy is secretly programmed as a feral human beast. He orders Dacha to hold the line, while he violently clears out a nearby bathroom, promising to squat up on the roof in 10. Fast forward 30 minutes later, the duo pulled up to a spot swarming with waiting mobs. Our main character immediately commanded his undead squad to pop their berserk mode, sending them into an absolute feral state. Big Dummy started expanding completely, hulking out, to hype up his rage. Even more, the guy yelled that these mobs had totally devoured his chicken. That was the last straw. Dacha went completely unhinged, swinging on everyone, with zero chill. While Big Dummy was throwing heavy hands, our guy literally just sat back, sipped some tea, and watched the chaos unfold. He instantly realized how busted this rage mode actually was. Dacha was steamrolling through hordes of enemies all at once, flexing stats that were straight up doubled, plus a massive buff from the nighttime shadows. His fighting mechanics were absolutely insane, exactly what you'd expect from his raw glitch tier strength. A few minutes later, the adrenaline crash hit, and Big Dummy deflated right back down to his base size. The hero was totally blown away by this overpowered skill, noticing that Dacha's digestion speed had skyrocketed by 30%. He was literally converting snacks into pure fuel to patch up his battle damage. Bro had officially evolved into a walking, unstoppable meat shield. Skimming through the fresh loot drops from the system, he spotted 2 strength gear scrolls, a massive stash of potions, and a shiny new chest piece. This chest plate was no joke, boosting both raw power and agility, while also popping a defensive energy barrier around him for 3 whole seconds. As for the spirit potion, it fully cleanses any mental debuffs for 4 solid minutes. He was crossing his fingers that after upgrading and syncing with the blood ring, he would unlock some crazy lifesteal effects mid-fight, willing to risk it all for the grind. He slammed 2 rings together in the forge. Boom, RNG luck was on his side, and the fusion was a massive win. Post-upgrade, he scored a level 2 absorption ring meant to siphon life points straight out of enemies while brawling, wasting 0 time. He took his new bling out for a spin. Sure enough, the blood ring started draining enemy vibes instantly, and he grinned hyped to see his base stats shooting through the roof. Feeling fully recharged, the duo wrapped up their break and hit the road again. They eventually rolled up on an apocalyptic, completely wrecked wasteland zone. Taking one look at the massive craters and chaos, our boy instantly knew a boss monster was camping nearby. Flashing back to his past life, he remembered that by the time he used to reach this coordinate, the big bad was already clapped by someone else. He literally never expected to step foot into this nightmare this early in the game. Now he was buzzing with hype to see what kind of monster was waiting for him. Out of nowhere, he stumbled right into the Moss City marketplace, bagging an easy 10 prestige points just for discovering the spot. The system pinged, flashing a massive warning sign. Players were strictly banned from loitering in any store for more than 30 minutes a day. Go over the time limit and the taxes would be insane. Refuse to pay. The system would literally delete him. But since he was the very first player to ever walk in, he unlocked a massive 50% off coupon for his first checkout. Before stepping through the doors, he ordered Big Dummy to hold the line and play bodyguard outside. Then he ducked into a private trading booth to spend some cash. Swiping through the virtual storefront, he mentally reviewed the strict safe zone rules. 0 aggressive combat was allowed in here. And if anyone was dumb enough to actually start a brawl, they better not smash or dirty a single pixel, or else the cleaning fees would bankrupt them. He clicked into the General Goods tab, spotting a flashbang, a hunting bow, an ice magic scroll, and some power booster pills. Flexing his virtual wallet, he scoffed, wondering if this basic shop had anything he didn't already hoard. Right on cue, the system sensed that our VIP gamer was not impressed with the mid-tier trash. Instantly, the interface glitched, revealing a hidden black market menu. Turns out these local vendors gate-kept top-tier legendary loot only unlocked for players who heavily boosted the city's reputation. This got our hero thinking. What other settlements had he accidentally maxed out his stats in? He couldn't wait to expose the absolute craziest secret drops hidden in Moss City's vault. His jaw dropped when he realized he was already ranked as a highly respected premium citizen. The system authenticated his status the second he breached the exclusive underground gear section. Scrolling down, he found a city honor crest slapped with an insane 20,000 gold price tag. a super sleek official guard uniform, and a shiny city defender badge listed at an eye-watering 10,000 gold. Since his bank account was looking sad at exactly 6,000 gold, he could technically only afford the most basic drop. But wait, thanks to that fat 50% first-timer discount, he completely cheesed the system. He sniped the premium city uniform, which actually happened to be the single most expensive cosmetic on the rack. Hitting the confirm button, he casually brushed off the rest of the inventory. "Keep the trash," he muttered as the system chimed a polite thank you for his transaction. The shopkeeper practically begs him to come back and drop more cash. Our boy struts out rocking that top-tier city guard fit. This gear isn't just premium quality. It packs a sick illusion skill that totally masks his other armor and weapons. Plus, the fit is self-cleaning, automatically adapts to blazing heat and literally wipes away ketchup stains like magic. But the absolute best perk, anyone with less clout than him gets heavily nerfed the second they try to attack. On top of that, he can now slap players in Moss City with custom quests, totally skipping out on paying the reward. Free labor, yes please. He smirks, realizing this city-exclusive loot is actually insane, just like he expected. Itching to test drive this setup in real combat, he strips off his old gear to check out the uniform's raw specs. Locking in on that illusion skill, he activates the guard's breastplate. Instantly, a slick holographic wave ripples across his body. He keeps spamming the equip button, vibing with the visual glitches until a system alert flashes red. He's been loitering in the shop for over 30 minutes and needs to bounce immediately. Hyped about the ultimate stealth and mobility this illusion gives him, he yanks Big Dummy by the arm. The duo sprints out of the store before the system drops a penalty on them. Back on the streets, our boy wants to flex his new command abilities. He tries hitting Big Dummy with a quest to literally nuke the world, but the system immediately slaps that down. Next up, he tries rolling a quest to one-shot a legendary boss, and another to wipe the local library off the map. But both get rejected. The only prompt the system actually clears is some sketchy quest about picking up girls. He actually considers it for a sec, but quickly scraps the idea. Finally, he punches in a realistic target, taking down the boss lurking in Moss City's library. Boom. The system gives him the green light. A prompt asks if he wants to proceed. He hits yes and runs a quick radar scan for any nearby bosses, wasting no time. He and Big Dummy roll out to hunt down the hidden boss that just popped up on the map. Cut to a different spot. Two survivors are shivering in pitch black, praying they stay hidden. Out of nowhere, two glowing blood-red eyes snap open in the shadows. It locks right onto them. The girl absolutely loses it, about to scream her lungs out. But the guy slaps a hand over her mouth, desperately whispering to shut up. Suddenly, this freakish mutant, with a massive dripping tongue, crawls down the wall. It physically slithers that gross tongue right across the girl's face. She's convulsing in pure terror. The guy gripping. Xiaomei knows it's game over. He grabs her and they bolt sprinting for their actual lives. They're inches from the exit door when, swish, the monster snags her ankle. She violently slams into the concrete, and in a split second, it absolutely shreds her to pieces. The guy just stands there sobbing in pure helpless rage. Right on cue, our main guy and his pet zombie crash the party. They spot the tongue freak, brutally feasting on the fresh corpses. Honestly, our hero thinks getting wiped out is almost a mercy for regular folks, especially now that the game's newbie protection shield has vanished. Staring down this grotesque creature, he mutters that without the screaming, this thing's stealth is so cracked he wouldn't have sensed it at all. Then it clicks. This is the exact same mob that triggered his very first class advancement. He starts big-braining it. Zombie class evolution actually mirrors human leveling mechanics. They run their own unique skill trees. Bosses scale up way faster, and the crazy mutations between zombie classes become super obvious right from the early game grind. Take assassin zombies, for instance. They're just as insanely agile as human rogues, literally munching on brains to farm intelligence stats. This specific freak, a level 10 bronze tier reptile zombie rocking a nasty 2-skill combo, one for hardcore stealth and one for raw damage. The second, our guy locked eyes with the boss, a hidden resentment quest tied to this lizard zombie, just completely activated. The shady system suddenly pulls up the juicy lore drops for the mission. Turns out this thing used to be the head librarian. Bro was stealing books left and right, and once the apocalypse turned him into a mutant, his whole vibe became pure toxic revenge against literally anyone who dares to read. Lin San is genuinely shook. Like, who knew this hardcore survival game actually had built-in mechanics to help players act on their petty grudges? He immediately barks an order, "Big Dummy, flatten this guy, keep the mob aggro off us." Eyes blazing with absolute fury, Big Dummy squares up against the lizard freak. He winds up for a devastating strike. swinging a massive iron pipe. Clang. The metal literally folds in half against the creature's scales. Lin San instantly clocks it. The boss just triggered its phantom stealth skill. In a heartbeat, the freak morphs into a pitch-black shadow flat against the wall. Literally untouchable. A split second later, this creepy thing slithers out of the dark, ready to blindside Big Dummy. He's completely clueless. But right before it lands the hit slice, our boy steps in and cleanly chops the monster's hands right off, with its claws completely gone. The creature actually starts bawling like a baby. Lin just straight up calls him pathetic. Already shaking in your boots, huh? The reptilian freak shrinks down, wailing in agony while regenerating fresh arms. But our hero, he gives zero. Absolutely zero flying flips. He unleashes a savage combo with his blade. The mutant screeches in pure terror, running for its life and screaming that it's getting deleted. Watching this total meltdown, Lin smirks. He offers the monster a tiny head start to run away, slowly counting up to 3. But the second he hits one psych, he triggers his speed boost and cape gliding after the beast like an absolute demon. He bridges the gap in a flash, taunting the monster that his time is up. The moment he catches up to this special mutant, he delivers one last earth-shattering swing of his blade. Boom! The hit connects, and the creature literally bursts into dust. The loot drop, a sweet 100 coins, plus an extra 100 coins and 50 XP on top of that. Mission accomplished. He clears the Stalker Zombie's grudge quest, bagging a massive haul of prestige points, fat stacks of cash, and even more XP. He finally hits level 10. But wait, his progress gets totally hard stuck. Why? Because he hasn't locked in his class advancement yet. Now he's just gotta chill and wait for the job portal to unlock, letting all those juicy experience points stockpile in the background. That's exactly why he needs to speedrun finding that magical scroll. And hitting level 10 comes with a massive perk. The system offers him a shot at dropping a random super rare item, and he instantly clicks accept. See, Lin Ziluo doesn't actually want to be the first guy to change classes, because that would trigger a loud global announcement and blow his cover. His hack. He can rock 2 classes at once. One gets broadcasted to the whole server, while he secretly picks whatever he wants for the second, instantly buffing all of his core stats. The interface chimes in congratulating him for unlocking the busted yin-yang ability, granting him dual professions. Lin is absolutely hyped. Joking out loud, are you basically telling me I'm destined to solo this whole planet? Flash forward a bit. Big Dummy and our main character are chilling on a rooftop with a squad of survivors scoping out a massive swarming horde of mutants below. Cut to later, our boy breaches a heavy high-tech security door, and there it is, the Holy Grail, the exact scroll he's been hunting for. He instantly starts unleashing a barrage of wild punches, trying to smash through the bulletproof glass, caging the loot, after bruising his knuckles over and over. Spiderweb cracks finally start crawling across the glass. Winding up, our hero throws one last heavy-hitting haymaker, shattering the case into a million pieces and snatching the scroll. Just like that, the class advancement ritual activates, sucking him into a trippy cosmic void, where the ultimate job transformation sequence officially begins. Rewind the tape. Let's jump back to earlier this afternoon, right before the server's newbie protection period expires. Lin and Big Dummy swagger into a local base, demanding to know when the museum raid is officially dropping. Some guild leader flexes that they've already rallied an army of 200 players and they are gearing up to storm the Modu Museum any minute now. Now that VIP Lin Ziluo has finally shown up, the boss pings the rest of the guild members to assemble. The guy is secretly plotting that if this massive raid succeeds, his spot as the top dog president is locked in permanently. The big boss of the Grim Reaper Guild takes the stage, hyping everyone up. Today is the day, guys. We're about to face an absolutely legendary boss fight. He declares an all-out war, commanding everyone to wipe out the mutants guarding the Modu Museum and secure the rare cultural artifacts inside. He rallies the troops for the grand assault. The crowd goes absolutely feral, super pumped at the thought of scoring some sweet bronze tier loot. Lin, on the other hand, is just cringing hard in the corner, annoyed that everyone is treating this apocalypse like a casual video game grind, just farming mobs for levels. He already knows the dark truth. The second that safety shield drops, 90% of these clueless noobs are going to get totally wiped out. Right on cue, a massive brawl breaks out with guild members just throwing hands and beating the absolute brakes off each other. Once the dust settles, the squad grapples up to a rooftop to scout the infected sea of mutants below. The guild leader turns and asks, "Yo Lin, is your crazy strat actually gonna work? Our guy plays it cool. If you move fast, nobody takes damage." He looks the boss dead in the eyes, warning him this is a one-shot deal. Miss this window, and they are cooked. Stick to the script, follow the playbook everyone memorized, and it'll go down perfectly. Since Lin has the most cracked speed stats in the He volunteers for aggro duty, planning to kite the first massive wave using a chunk of nasty virus-infected bait. He leaves Dacha kicking it with Gaodong. Our MC notices Dasha is totally obsessed with that giant hammer, effortlessly swinging it through the air on loop. But he isn't sweating it since the massive weapon perfectly matches her vibe anyway. Right before he dips out, the soldiers hit Lin Xiao with a quick good luck, knowing perfectly well that this first monster wave is always an absolute nightmare. Our boy immediately sprints dead center into the zombie horde, clutching that tainted meat like the ultimate bait, instantly pulling heavy aggro as the undead start hunting him down. He swiftly lobs the meat, promising that he's going to help them totally wipe out these zombies, and he promises they'll bag the real loot once they make it back alive to Gao Wu. These two clueless bros actually thank Lin Xiao for being such a solid dude, totally blind to the fact our boy's just speedrunning to snatch that scroll before anyone else. With that, Lin hits the gas, sprinting like an absolute madman until he finally breaches the vault room. He shoves the heavy doors wide, revealing the legendary class change artifact, his eyes instantly locking onto the ultimate prize. Honestly, Lin thinks the scroll looks incredibly mid for an item that literally had hundreds of players throwing their lives away. Spotting its weird glowing runes and a sketchy ring sitting right beside it, he starts bashing the glass display case to secure the bag. After dropping a barrage of heavy punches that spiderweb the glass, he delivers one brutal knuckle-busting haymaker that completely obliterates the barrier, snatching up the loot. He realizes this bizarre scroll is hiding some massive lore, instantly scoring him 500 prestige points. Out of nowhere, the scroll starts glowing and directly calling out to him, prompting a system pop-up asking if he's ready to accept the summons. Our boy clicks accept without hesitating and gets instantly sucked right into the scroll's dimension. When his vision clears, he finds himself trapped in this creepy ancient chamber surrounded by floating ghost flames. He slams his hands onto this weird glowing portal, confirming he's exactly where he needs to be. Right then, our MC triggers the trial to officially lock in his epic class awakening. He knows this scroll is holding back some god-tier legacy secrets, but to unlock them, he's got to survive 3 brutal cryptic trials, just like he did in his past life. This trial takes 0 prisoners. If he chokes, he'll be instantly wiped from existence, but if he clutches up, he secures a massive level up and a broken class. But wait, the system starts acting super sus. It claims that if he fails, there's absolutely 0 penalty and he'll be totally safe. A new prompt pops up, Trial of the Ancients unlocked. This quest promises a crazy legacy, dating back centuries, plus a shiny silver tier item as loot. Lin is low-key weirded out. Like, yeah, the Phantom class is absolutely top tier, but it shouldn't trigger a flex like that. He knows the Phantom Assassin is a legendary job from the ancient continent, a class that evolves at level 30 and again at level 80, but this system message total cap, it just doesn't add up. Super confused, he demands to know the catch if he clicks accept, but the system just completely ghosts him. Whatever. Lin Xiao says screw it and locks in the quest. Boom. Phase 1 kicks off, dropping him onto a massive stone staircase. His first task, touch this glowing golden orb. The second, his skin makes contact, a surge of wild energy erupts, swirling violently around his body, ripping him through space into a creepy blood-red dimension. He spawns onto a floating chunk of rock in the middle of absolute nowhere. He wipes his hand across the ground and winces. The entire surface is drenched in something that feels way too much like sticky tomato paste. Gross. Out of nowhere, a massive, twisted vortex starts ripping open, sending a real chill down our hero's spine. He gets a flashback to his past life where he literally only survived this by weaponizing his pure hatred for Yao Qigong. Back then, he just sat pathetically in the dirt, completely swallowed by his own blind rage. But this time, he's built different. He's completely locked in, fully refusing to let history repeat itself. Covered in grime, he just flashes a cocky grin at the distant portal, perfectly primed to absolutely crush this challenge. He takes a deep breath, centers his mind, and completely masters his own fury. He proves he's the boss of his own emotions, instantly clearing the stage. A creepy, disembodied voice echoes out, telling him he's done enough, and that he can bounce through the exit portal. Wrapping up Phase 1, he figures the whole setup was basically a mental trap, designed to make players totally lose their minds from the nightmare fuel. Next up, Lin struts straight into the portal for round 2. A dark memory hits him, back in his past life. He literally passed out cold before he could even finish this stage. Which means, this is his very first time running this specific gauntlet completely blind. Creepy toxic whispers start echoing directly inside his head, begging him to just give up, warning him that if he blacks out again, he's getting permanently locked out of the final boss stage. But Lin Ziluo tunes out the noise. He is not backing down. Bro has literally lived through this nightmare before, and this time he is making it to the finish line. He has to push through. Flashing back to his weak past self completely fuels his fire to rewrite his destiny. Head held high, he struts into the second test with zero hesitation, stepping right into a blindingly white portal. For a split second, he totally thought it was doomsday all over again. But honestly, realizing he actually survived this far, a massive wave of relief hits him. This right here, this is what getting a second chance at life actually feels like. Crushing the second trial, Lin Ziluo marches straight into the third and final test. He stands his ground, totally locked in for the ultimate showdown. Memory lane hits hard. This is the exact spot where he got ambushed and permanently scarred in his past life. Now it is payback time. With pure vengeance in his eyes, he dives into the portal and enters the combat zone. The mission drops, wipe out the boss. Without missing a beat, Lin Ziluo draws his blade. Suddenly his danger sense starts screaming. He sidesteps just in time as a lethal strike shatters the cave wall right next to his head. Out of the shadows creeps a mysterious black cat purring about how long it has been waiting for this twisted game to start. Lin Ziluo's blood runs cold. It is him, the exact same beast that ripped his face up in his past life. Right on cue, the system hits him with the Omnipotence perk, letting him instantly master literally any weapon he touches. Instead of rushing in, our guy actually closes his eyes, getting totally into the zone. He relies purely on sound tracking the cat's deadly silent footsteps. The second the boss launches into the air, Lin Ziluo feels the shift in the wind and blindly rips a devastating sword slash through the air. Bullseye. The blade slices clean across the beast's eye. Poetic justice honestly matching the exact same scar Lin Ziluo suffered before. The monster hacks up blood, shrieking in absolute agony. And just like that, our boy obliterates the Guardian, clears the third trial, and serves up a perfectly cold dish of revenge. The system pops off with congratulations, dropping the ultra-rare Phantom Assassin class scroll straight into his hands, plus a sweet level up. But hold up. Why is he still standing in this damp cave? Beating the boss should have literally teleported him back outside instantly. Paranoid that the game bugged out and trapped him, he starts scaling the rocky walls. Pretty quickly, he connects the dots. The game is not keeping him hostage. It is his own cheat system holding him back. Scanning the quest logs, everything finally clicks. The quest to unlock the scroll's true potential was nowhere near done. He is completely shook to find out he basically only unlocked the trial version. Snagging the class change item, that was literally just step 1. Step 2 was actually triggering it to absorb the insane power inside. So our MC decides to shoot his shot. The system chimes in, warning him that he has to manually accept the scroll's raw energy. Lin Ziluo is just hyped. He is not soft-locked in this cave by some trash glitch. He immediately asks where to head next. But the system basically tells him to shut up and stay totally silent. He seriously wonders, did the scroll just mute his overpowered cheat system? Or are these two things somehow deeply connected? Pushing the overthinking aside, he decides to just roll with the cryptic clue he got. Honestly, he never would have guessed this and totally would have missed it without that nudge. Scanning the area, he spots a weird crack in the stone, realizing it is actually part of a massive hidden geometric pattern. The second he traces his finger along the groove, the whole thing lights up like neon, exposing an ancient mural of a bird and a bull, something he vividly remembers seeing before. Suddenly, the entire cavern starts quaking violently, totally catching him off guard. Shoving the carved stone slab aside, he realizes it is actually a hidden doorway, leading straight into a secret chamber housing a glowing orb and another mystical scroll. The exact moment his fingers brush the parchment, a blinding aura explodes outward, spelling out the legendary name, Chiyo. A straight-up mythological god. It finally clicked. Chiyo was the ultimate puzzle piece, unlocking this scroll with that fierce bull and soaring bird acting as the tribe's sacred totems. Flashbacks of the ancient myth hit him hard. The Yellow Emperor hadn't just defeated the legendary Chiyo, he straight up decapitated him, burying his severed head until it morphed into a totally cursed, blood-chilling forest. But legends say phantom cats are ultimate soul keepers, and guess what? Chiyo's spirit didn't just fade away, because he managed to track one down. Knowing his soul was on borrowed time, the warlord engineered this insane scroll trial, all to find a worthy heir to inherit his tribe's apocalyptic power. The final boss stage, guarded by the pure-blooded phantom hunter cats. By surviving this brutal gauntlet, a mortal could claim that god-tier strength. Heart-pounding, he finally slammed his hand onto the ancient sigil. The second, his fingers wrapped around the scroll, holding the tribe's true essence. Boom! An unimaginable raw force hijacked his senses. Violent waves of pure energy crashed through his veins. The system ruthlessly wiped out his familiar blue aura. Seconds later, this crazy unknown power violently clashed, then perfectly fused with the Doomsday Game's energy. As the fusion clicked, a massive class change sequence triggered, The game officially crowned him as the Lord Soldier. Sirens blared in his head. The system warned him to wrap up the trial fast. Because his badass new job needed massive digital rendering, Lin Ziluo, who was hardcore gunning for the Phantom Assassin class, never actually saw himself clearing Chiyo's legendary trial. Ripping open his inventory, he smirked at his brand new status. Lord Soldier. Sounds dope, right? Suddenly a glowing orb clamped onto the back of his hand like a superglue parasite. He quickly realized it was the 9 Li orb, the ultimate signature weapon of his new class. It hardwired Chiyo's mythical power straight into his DNA. This insane artifact could morph into anything he visualized, and literally devour other gears' energy to permanently buff its own stats. Lin Ziluo's eyes widened. This meant his growth potential was absolutely infinite. He could become a walking chi. Out of nowhere, the orb glided right between his eyebrows, without even asking for permission. But hey, it's Chiyo's god-tier relic. He wasn't about to complain. Taking a deep breath, he finally blasted out of the trial dimension and slammed back into reality, officially locking in the Lord Soldier class. Fully digitized and totally broken. His base stats with 0 gear and 0 titles were 18 in strength, 19 in agility, and 16 in spirit. Plus, every single level up gifted him a wild 3 points in both strength and physique, plus 3 free attribute points to dump wherever. Riding the massive XP wave and grabbing a free level up from the quest, Yazi rocketed straight to level 13. Hitting a monstrous 49 in strength and 46 in physique, his stats were so insanely cracked that he could literally bulldoze through a zombie horde without breaking a single sweat. The system hyped him up as the very first player to class change, crowning him with the Pioneer achievement. Then a massive world server announcement dropped, teasing everyone that his class evolution was a one-way ticket to becoming an absolute god of war. His killer new skill set let him freely manipulate the tribal orb, shape-shifting it into any weapon imaginable. He also scored another brutal class-exclusive skill, along with a mysterious third ability that was still locked in a dormant state. Lin was completely mind-blown. Pinching himself to make sure he wasn't tripping, he realized this insane power-up was 100% real. He felt terrifyingly unstoppable. Itching to test drive the 9 Li orb, he grabbed a random baseball bat as tribute. He tapped the Devour Energy command and the orb hovered, glowing intensely. It sucked the bat dry, gorging on enough power to instantly evolve, straight into a badass silver-tier artifact. The orb massively expanded, pulsating with an eerie crimson core, until the legendary 9 Li sword materialized right in his grip. This silver-tier blade packed a heavy punch, boosting his strength by 4 and his physique by 2. Plus, every swing carried a 10% armor-piercing effect. It also unlocked a deadly sword strike skill, dealing an insane 120% physical damage, and a devastating heavy slash that temporarily skyrocketed his strength by 200%. Totally hyped by the glow-up, our guy traced the weapon's razor-sharp edge, before mentally shifting the orb again, morphing it into the sleek 9 Li bow and arrows. The bow was no joke either, instantly bumping his strength by 4 and his agility by 2. And get this, it packs 2 insane skills. First up, the Fire Arrow, which boosts damage by a crazy 120% of his base strength, and literally torches enemies alive. Skill number 2 is the Frost Arrow. Same heavy hitting damage, but it completely chills and slows his targets to a crawl. Pushing this weapon to its absolute limit, he morphs the orb into a slick assassin's dagger, shifts it into a massive tank shield, and even spawns a heavy warrior's blade. But the second he tries snapping it back into a bow, the orb just drops lifelessly to the dirt. A massive red system warning flashes. Mental burnout. If he keeps forcing these shapeshifts, he's gonna pass out hard. It suddenly clicks, these weapon swaps are draining his actual brain power, and a massive wave of pure exhaustion hits him like a truck. Right at that second, a massive server-wide alert blasts out, crowning him the very first player to hit level 10 and lock in his class advancement. Basically, everyone else needs to touch grass and grind harder because he just snatched up the ultra-rare Pioneer achievement and a fat stack of loot. Hearing Lin's name dominate the global feed again, the rest of the player base is absolutely mauling. Some of the veterans spot his username and instantly realize he's the same crazy dude spamming the world announcements. Because of this massive flex, all the low-tier noobs are sweating bullets, desperately grinding just to stand a chance at catching up to his insane pace. To dodge that nasty brain fog, our boy chugs down a mental stamina potion. Instantly, the system showers him with hype for locking down that first ever Pioneer milestone. And the drops. He bags a sweet 1,000 prestige points, 200 gold coins, 3 raw stat points, and 2 highly coveted extra inventory slots. Tapping into the details, he realizes Pioneer isn't just a badge, it's a one-of-a-kind title strictly for the absolute first class changer. It straight up buffs all his core stats by 2, while slapping a toxic 5% stat nerf onto literally every other player in the game. Now, knowing the whole squad needs their class upgrades before stepping up to the bronze tier boss, he goes ahead and pops open his silver tier loot box. Boom! Out drops the Devil's Phantom Mask. The thing is practically radiating dark demonic energy, completely branded with a chilling warning. Do not let the darkness consume you. This edgy piece of gear perfectly masks his stats and literally paralyzes anyone who makes eye contact with pure fear for 3 whole seconds. Without hesitation, our guy triggers the Phantom passive, completely ghosting his player identity. He slides the mask on with a menacing smirk and commands the system to activate his absolute broken cheat skill. Normally, the game strictly caps players at equipping 1 single ring, but thanks to his overpowered hack, he shatters that limit. He forces the system to open up a second ring slot, giving him an insanely unfair advantage over the casuals. But for the moment, the overpowered MVP himself just leaves that fresh slot wide open, holding out for a god-tier ring to drop later. He's also sitting on 12 unassigned stat points. Lin speedruns allocating his stats and finally decides to group back up with the squad. The entire camp is huddled up for a massive briefing from the Reaper Guild. Big Guy is holding down the perimeter like a tank, while the shot caller hypes up the crowd, declaring that the all-out siege kicks off today. He immediately gives a huge shout-out to Big Guy, calling him the absolute MVP, who carried them through the brutal Modu Museum raid. Right in the middle of this epic speech, their pet zombie is over there literally vibing with his emotional support chicken. The leader even jokes that deep-fried drumsticks are basically Big Guy's lifeblood. Just as the vibes peak, Lin steps out from the shadows, rocking his menacing new mask and upgraded drip, completely stunning the entire crew. Gordon's face lights up with sheer relief. Dude was genuinely terrified Lin had been wiped out. As they start strategizing for the incoming bloodbath, half the girls in the camp are already swooning over Lin's dark, mysterious aura. The team debriefs him they've already slaughtered over 1,000 walkers, drafted a bunch of fresh recruits, and hoarded an insane amount of survival gear. Gordon hypes up Big Guy again, revealing he absolutely bulldozed through over 100 infected solo, hard carrying the squad's front line. Catching his breath, the leader pulls Lin away from the crowd for a low-key one-on-one. He gives a genuine nod of respect for Lin's clutch plays, and asks if they can talk strategy offline later. He notes that pulling in more survivors means free muscle for their up. Our MC completely sees this as the perfect chance to turn these guys into his personal loot farming squad, and seriously level up his orb. More bodies on the ground equals a massive boost in rare drops, pushing their EXP gains through the absolute roof. His master plan, flipping those resource cards to rake in a mountain of coins, plus snatching up all the top-tier gear needed to trigger his orbs. With this massive brain play locked in, our boy's pitching his deal straight to the boss of the Reapers Club. Gao Dong asks what kind of hustle he has in mind, promising to bend over backward to make it happen. Our MC demands hardcore gear and Gao just smirks, claiming that's an absolute breeze to score. To back up his flex, Gao presses a mysterious item into his palm, calling it a custom-made surprise. A slick silver ring. Suddenly, an unhinged system alert blares out. The true Apocalypse game has officially dropped. It coldly states the game runs on pure brutal fairness, and once triggered there is absolutely zero turning back. The newbie shield shatters. The real nightmare kicks off, spawning way more terrifying and mutated zombies into the wild. Knights will turn into total killing machines, but as the undead grow insanely buffed, the high-stakes risk brings crazy rewards. The deadlier the zombie you crush, the god tier the card drop will be. On top of that, the whole environment is about to rot away completely, forcing players to scavenge for high-end survival gear. Cities get slashed into savage zones with a completely overhauled ranking system, finally letting players switch up their combat classes. Taking in the absolute chaos, our hero realizes this death game is just as merciless as he remembers from his past life. Camping at home is no longer a viable strat. Rations are literally rotting off the shelves, forcing terrified players to face head-on against flesh eaters just to grind for survival. Hearing distant screams fade out, he reflects on how the sick system forces everyone into a brutal do-or-die ultimatum. Right on cue, Big Idiot, his personal zombie tank, suddenly starts a wild mutation, bulking up into an absolute juggernaut. Jay immediately hits the system to figure out what is triggering this massive buff. Turns out Big Idiot's raw stats are viciously clashing with his standard zombie evolution path. Thanks to the massive game update, he will not morph. Instead, every single one of his base stats is about to skyrocket by a massive 50%. He is literally glitching out the matrix, bypassing the game's rules to freely swap classes and unlock insanely broken talents. Seeing this insane potential, our MC decides to carry the big guy into a hidden class, unlocking 100% of his monstrous legacy. Scanning through his squad's newly awakened abilities, he is genuinely mind-blown. Suddenly, spam alerts flood his screen. He just crowned the absolute top spot on the Chinese server for both level and street cred. The system throws him a bone to go incognito. But nah, our boy decides to step straight into the spotlight. Peeking at the level leaderboards, Jay is sitting pretty at rank 1, hitting a solid level 14. Mind-blowingly, Big Idiot claims the third spot at level 7, holding it down without even swiping through the other charts. He spots his name flexing at number 1 for both god-tier gear and massive rep. For a split second, he debates playing it stealth. In his past life, he ghosted his identity to dodge the ruthless Lee Syndicate. But in this timeline, those scrubs, his fresh strat, throw on his menacing mask and strike pure terror into any rivals, while commanding an army of minions to fetch crazy loot for his ever-hungry orb. Confident he can easily carry a core squad now that he is completely dominating the top 3 leaderboards. Racking up a triple threat of unique achievements suddenly unlocks a god-tier legendary title, Peerless in the World. A flashy system prompt reveals this badge is exclusively reserved for the absolute top dog. You have to rule all 3 charts at the exact same time, drop a single rank, and the title vanishes into thin air. And the ultimate payoff. Every single one of his base stats gets insanely jacked up. He scores a sweet 10% discount across all shops, plus a 1% boost to his loot drops. Our guy is buzzing with so much energy he's dead sure that not even a level 90 war god could leave a single scratch on him. He locks in his new title. In exactly 1 hour it'll go live, giving him 1 whole second of pure invincibility whenever he triggers it. But wait, he asks the system, what's the point of an extra 1% drop rate when he's already maxed out at 100%? The system chimes in that tiny 1% bonus guarantees an extra piece of loot drops every single time he secures a kill. Time to test this out. He and the big fool hit the streets together to put this buff to the test. The exact second he steps outside, a zombie lunges straight for his throat. Without missing a beat, he draws his blade, unleashing a furious combo of lightning-fast strikes, shredding the creature into oblivion. Talk about horrible luck. Running into a stealth-type zombie, the absolute moment he stepped out the door. Next up, Lin Zilu ducks behind cover, watching a massive horde of undead rolling in, spotting their glowing toxic veins. He instantly books it, and screams at the big fool to haul ass right behind him. He explains that sure, their stats might be trash, but their spit is basically pure acid. Sticking around would be a total death wish. The duo sprints through the ruins like absolute track stars, scaling a nearby building to shake off the pack, slipping out the back completely undetected. As they push forward, they sneak past colossal mutants feasting on human remains, eventually stumbling upon a camp of broken, hopeless survivors. The vibe here is completely bleak. The zombies keep leveling up while their supplies are completely drained, right as a young girl starts handing out what looks like their very last scraps of food. Lin Zilu spots the perfect opportunity. He swaggers over, announcing that if they actually want to survive this apocalypse, all they gotta do is cough up some coins and gear, and he will hook them up with a full day's worth of grub. In a heartbeat, the entire camp goes absolutely wild, jumping at the deal without a second thought. Thanks to this little hustle, our boy rakes in 10,000 gold coins, dropping the promised rations like a boss. But the crowd is getting way too rowdy, so he snaps at them to shut the hell up. He warns them that noise brings the horde, and if they keep yapping, he'll just let the big fool handle them instead. The threat totally works. The survivors freeze up, instantly zipping their lips. With that sorted, he heads back to Gao Dong's fortress, straight to his own private VIP room. There he completely flexes on the Reaper's leader, basically bullying his way into commanding the entire squad. Our MC leans in and whispers a secret plan into the club president's ear, who quickly agrees to handle the mission. Lin Zilu is really hoping Gao Dong is smart enough to play along. But honestly, even if this whole scheme crashes and burns, he literally loses nothing. Tomorrow is bringing a fresh wave of mutant zombies anyway. He figures it's grinding time, gotta stack those coins and drops while seeing if Dong is willing to trade high-tier gear in exchange for his premium resource cards. Cut to the mutants. The twisted creatures are charging the duo at terrifying breakneck speeds. But in literally a matter of seconds, the entire massive horde is completely wiped out. Lin Zilu tells the big fool to keep grinding and aggro more walkers, just so the struggling survivors can catch a breather. Mid-hunt, they stumble upon a sick location and immediately decide to claim it as their brand new base. The mastermind plan: open up a magical storefront where survivors can buy top-tier loot, letting everyone get filthy rich and actually enjoy the apocalypse. He isn't sweating security at all, figuring some insanely overpowered player already cleared out the local boss monsters, but somehow completely missed the magical shop hidden inside. But the second our guy kicks open the doors, he locks eyes with a completely different squad of survivors. One of them instantly barks at him to back off, claiming the turf is already taken. Well, looks like things are about to get messy. A bald dude spots Big Fool and instantly alerts his boss. That's when it hits Lin. His hulking sidekick just completely eclipsed Jiangguan, snagging the number 2 spot thanks to his insane passive zombie leveling. The survivor squad tries to roll out the red carpet, hyping up Big Fool. But our MC shuts that down real quick, making it crystal clear they're just here to shop for gear, and nothing else. Meanwhile, a sketchy lackey whispers to his boss. Sure, the giant looks stacked and loaded, but they definitely have the numbers to jump him. The squad leader instantly shuts that toxic idea down, sweating as he explains, "This guy isn't just some random mob. He's literally the number 2 powerhouse in all of China, having butchered way more zombies solo than their entire crew combined." Hearing this flex, Lin realizes his Moshi City badge was worth every single penny. Dropping 9,000 coins on that Guardian badge wasn't a waste. It was chilling right there in his stash. So he whips out the card and triggers it instantly. We're talking top-tier special rank loot here. Seconds later, the glowing Moshi City Guardian crest flares to life. The massive wall of text detailing its perks completely blows our hero away with its insane buffs, but then a harsh system warning pops up, locking him out of buying a duplicate. Lin totally thought he could just pay to win his way to a full collection. So much for building a literal robot army. Still, he can still craft some sick gear scaled to his current level. He just benches the idea for now, totally clueless about when the next restock might happen. With the whole badge drama finally sorted out, the duo ditches the magic shop and hits the gritty streets. The sun is just barely starting to dip into late afternoon. Cut to a totally different zone. A squad of survivors is grinding hard, slashing through a horde to clear the block. While looting around, they hit the absolute jackpot, the mythical class change hub from the rumors, but staring blindly at the portal, they're completely lost. So, they pivot. Better to scavenge the area for some top-tier weapons and meds first. That is exactly when one of the girls spots this glowing, super sketchy crystal ball. The second her eyes lock onto the glowing orb, her red-haired teammate frantically screams out, begging Xiaofei to back away and not touch that cursed thing. Way too late, Xiaofei taps the glass, and boom, a massive shockwave blasts right through the entire room. The deafening roar has everyone shrieking in pure panic. Out of nowhere, a suffocating force field traps them all inside. Staring at this disaster, her friend snaps heavily, roasting her for always poking random glowing junk. Xiaofei super defensive whines that she didn't mean to trigger a literal trap, swearing she will keep her hands to herself. From now on, the squad drops the useless beef and frantically starts scanning the walls for an escape route. While they're scrambling, the dude holding the lantern completely freezes. His voice trembles. Something is creeping up right behind them. Right on cue, a hulking nightmare lunges straight out of the shadows. A massive level 18 raid boss. It crashes into the squad. The sheer terror paralyzes everyone as glowing bloodthirsty red eyes instantly lock onto them. This absolute beast, bristling with razor-sharp spikes down its spine, absolutely shreds the rookie team in seconds. Bloodbath over the mutant boss suddenly flinches, sensing some fresh meat. Someone just glitched right through the force field. The brute unleashes an ear-splitting roar, desperately trying to flex and scare the intruder away. But a thick smokescreen just covers their tracks. Watching this brutal bloodbath from a high ledge, a spectator scoffs. Total noob mistake. He turns to his 2 buddies, strictly laying down the law. Do not be idiots and keep your hands off random shiny loot. Boom. Enter our masked MC and Big Fool casually strolling right up to the glowing death trap. The rooftop trio instantly panics, frantically scrambling to break line of sight before these heavy hitters spot them. Ducking behind a concrete pillar, they peek at the edgy masked guy and his Titan sidekick. One dude whispers, trying to figure out how these guys even spawned here, planning to get a better angle soon. Suddenly it clicks. That absolute unit is Big Fool, the server's rank 2 legend. They pray he is about to totally wipe the floor with the area boss. But their captain strongly shakes his head. Those dead kids were pretty stacked too, meaning even a high-tier tank like the Giant might get utterly clapped going solo against that mutant. Still, they decide to camp out and grab some popcorn. Their sick plan let Big Fool get completely trashed by the boss, so they can swoop in and loot his overpowered gear. But suddenly, the Giant snarls, marching straight toward their hiding spot. Our MC had already clocked them. Just 3 totally clueless noobs, and he was not about to waste a single second on them. That's when Lin suddenly remembers something crucial about the beast guarding this class change shrine. This absolute unit was a Titangent class boss. Lin remembered exactly how this went down in his past life. A stacked mercenary squad had completely wrecked this thing, but its actual power scaling remained a total mystery. Still, Lin knew that dropping this heavyweight, while under the Apocalypse shield, would trigger the Class Awakening zone. The catch: he'd be hard locked inside the safe zone. The second 30 players showed up, the barrier would pop, forcing a massive deathmatch against the boss. Even worse, any player who caught an L would get devoured, giving these zombies a massive stat and level buff. Our guy recalled a terrifying detail from his first playthrough. This boss had grinded all the way up to level 40, and right now, they were walking straight into the danger zone. Pulling up to the quest terminal, the floor was painted with fresh ketchup stains and scattered loot cards. Since the player count hadn't hit 30 yet, and the quest was still on standby, snagging that free loot was an absolute no-brainer. While casually checking out his new cards, our masked bro accidentally tapped the magic console. Tucked away in a safe spot, a survivor trio watched Lin trigger the red zone. The system pinged immediately. Player Lin has touched the soul crystal. Class Awakening quest initiated. Because only 2 players were currently logged in this sector of Moshi, the system went ahead and heavily buffed the quest rewards. A massive alert flashed. The guardian boss of the Awakening Station is waking up. Right on cue, Lin's cheat system kicked in perfectly, tweaking the mission parameters. Quick lore drop: these Awakening hubs were spawned across cities, specifically to counter the zombie outbreak. Lin locked in the mage class for himself, tossing the warrior role straight over to Big Dummy. Suddenly, a towering red-eyed zombie stepped out of the shadows. We are talking about a level 19 bronze tier boss. This dude had broken strength stats and 2 ridiculously overpowered skills. Lin just smirked, roasting the monster's build, saying they perfectly matched its bulky meathead vibe. He quickly realized this boss had literally 0 combat IQ. Meanwhile, Lin had already clapped countless zombies and was heavily armed with the Orb of 9 Lies. Honestly, this fight was going to be an absolute breeze. The takedown quest officially triggered the second they locked eyes. He accepted the prompt, a 24-hour timer ticking down with a juicy silver tier item on the line. The giant zombie, meanwhile, just looked at Lin like a walking snack. Lin didn't hesitate. He instantly summoned his Bow of 9 Lies and let a glowing purple energy arrow rip. The shot slammed into the beast's arm but barely left a scratch. Pivoting instantly, Lin shouted, telling Big Dummy to rush the boss. Big Dummy swung his jackhammer full force, but the monster casually tanked it with a single arm. But right after the impact, frost started rapidly spreading across the strike zone. That ice was a delayed reaction from Lin's first arrow, an absolute masterclass in precision. The monster's arm instantly froze solid, making it scream out in pure agony. The shockwave from the roar was so deafening it blasted Lin with a massive headache, dropping him straight. Highly annoyed by this cheap stun, Lin watched Big Dummy charge back in, only to eat a devastating punch right in the gut. Ripping the ice arrow out of its own arm, the zombie roared, fully enraged. The brutal slugfest dragged on for hours until nightfall. The Titan was now wildly swinging a massive hammer, trying to flatten Lin, who smoothly dodged the lethal strikes. Summoning his bow once more, Lin rapid-fired a heavy barrage of elemental arrows. Every single one struck the giant dead on. As the absolute unit finally collapsed, our boy knocked a lethal arrow to finish the job. Lin then noticed the zombie was actually a construction worker before the outbreak. Smirking, he muttered that turning your back on an enemy is a complete rookie mistake, pulling his bowstring tight for the kill shot. Plot twist. The Titan caught him completely off guard by literally building a concrete shield to block the attack. Done playing games, Lin sighed and commanded Big Dummy to go full berserker mode, to push his buttons and trigger the rage. Lin yelled that this giant had just scarfed down 5 whole chickens while he was knocked out. Instantly, his zombie minion lost its mind in pure, unadulterated fury, sending his massive ally crashing straight into the giant monster. Meanwhile, our boy scrambled for the ultimate sniper spot, to line up his shot. The 2 undead heavyweights locked horns in a brutal grappling match, shoving each other around like bulldozers. Right then, Lindsay Luo locked onto his target and let a glowing red energy arrow rip, totally triggered by the cheap shot. The Titan took its absolute rage out on Big Idiot, with a devastating hook ripping the arrow right out of its own flesh. Our guy jokingly yelled out that it was an accident. Big Idiot tanked the heavy hit, launching himself at the Titan and locking in a vicious chokehold. But the colossal freak brute forced its way out, and our hero already had another arrow knocked and ready to fly. He tossed out a fake apology before sinking the second shot, pushing the zombie boss into pure raging madness. Right after Big Idiot's berserk mode hit its cooldown timer, and the huge guy rapidly started shrinking down. Realizing this, Lin loaded up a fistful of arrows and screamed at the idiot to bail out. Flexing the absolute last drop of his berserk juice, Big Idiot unleashed a rapid-fire combo, straight into the Titan's gut. The explosive clash kicked up a massive dust cloud, totally blinding our hero. From the action, Taking Yazi's insults super personally, the zombie completely snapped its limiters and awakened the ultra-rare Titan bloodline, a wild power-up our boy swore he wouldn't see until the final death blow. Mid-evolution. Glowing tribal marks ignited across the Titan zombie's face and massive chest. The system goes crazy, its stats go through the roof, unlocking a legendary talent that drastically buffs its raw strength, tanks incoming magic damage, and adds a nasty stun effect to every single punch. Its active skills get insanely buffed too, dealing ridiculous physical damage while its deafening roar actually debuffs anyone in earshot. With the boss suddenly hitting silver rank and rocking a legendary talent, this entire mission just went from hard mode to totally cracked. The loot drop will be epic, but Lin is sweating over how to actually put this thing down. As the raging behemoth stampedes straight toward him, our guy flashes a confident smirk knowing he can still outplay this brute. Fractions of a second before the monster closes the gap, Lin draws back his bow and rapid fires a deadly barrage of arrows. One perfectly snipes the Titan's muscular arm, but the wound literally regenerates instantly. Seeing that busted healing factor, Lin swaps the bow for his heavy Julie sword, vaults high into the air and dive bombs the monster. Blade fully charged, ripping a brutal gash across its thick hide. Glancing back, he realizes Big Idiot is completely useless right now. The guy is literally sitting there munching on roast chicken. Knowing he's riding solo on this one, he flicks a summon card to drop a heavy combat mech into the arena. On top of that, he blows his special horn, bringing out the agile zombie cat for backup. Gearing up for the ultimate clash, he starts channeling the Julie sword's most devastating ultimate slash. While he's laser-focused on charging the attack, the monster lunges to crush him like a bug. Right as the Titan's massive hands are about to clap him, Lin unleashes the slash. The heavy blade connects with a bone-shattering crunch, deeply wounding the boss. But there's a catch. The insane recoil leaves Lin totally paralyzed for 2 solid seconds. Meanwhile, the monster gets blasted backward by the sheer kinetic force of Yazi's massive strike. Instantly, the combat mech rockets forward, smashing a brutal rocket-powered knee straight into the beast's face, seizing the opening. The zombie cat dashes in like a blur, carving a massive bleeding gash across the Titan's ribs. Under the relentless barrage of hits, the giant boss is literally getting hammered deeper and deeper into the concrete floor. To finish the combo, our boy recovers and unleashes another heavy cleave with his glowing blade though. He suddenly realizes that micromanaging his elite summons with sheer mental focus is draining his stamina fast. After being totally stun-locked for a few seconds, the zombie boss snaps back to reality and goes for a wildly desperate swing. Yazi easily sidesteps it, noticing the Titan is severely burned out from its own berserk mode. It's gasping for air as its frenzy wears off. Lin realizes the boss totally wasted its Titan Fury buff at the worst possible time. He decides to scrap the tactics and brawl head-on, knowing the monster's desperate hits will only get heavier and more absolutely devastating until he won't be able to tank a single one. But running isn't in his DNA, and with the boss's arm already shattered, he knows victory is basically in his grasp. The enemy's attack patterns are getting insane. Time to lock in and go absolutely all out. As the massive brute swings a heavy punch, our masked hero casually vaults right over it. Another slick dodge, and boom, he seizes the perfect opening, slashing his blade right across the beast's neck. He keeps his momentum going while crimson sprays from the critical hit. But suddenly, the system chimes in. It detected gatecrashers in his party. Because of these randoms, his loot is getting nerfed. Jie is definitely caught off guard, but he and his mech keep unleashing hell. He spots a trio strolling in like they own the place, acting super chill. But the girl in their squad is frantically telling them to hurry up, because Jie is literally one hit away from finishing off the zombie boss. Highly annoyed, one of the toxic dudes snaps at her to zip it, throwing out straight-up threats. Completely terrified into silence. But right at that exact second, Jie teleports right behind them. Panic mode activated. They suddenly backtrack, claiming they're his biggest fans, hyping up his insane power level and swearing they just wanted to help out. Yeah, right. Not falling for it, Jie locks eyes with them, activating his terrifying demonic gaze, aiming it straight at those 2 remaining clout chasers. With the party size officially down to 1, the system happily announces that his loot pool is back to being totally buffed. The last surviving dude is desperately sweating, calling Jie a literal hero, and begging to join his squad. Zero hesitations given, our boy completely ignores him and swiftly sends him packing. Standing over him, Jie coldly states that it's nothing personal, but he never claimed to be the good guy. He already laid down the rules. Anyone dumb enough to block his grind gets absolutely deleted, zero mercy shown. He's super annoyed they tried to guilt trip him with that fake hero complex. Thankfully, a massive system alert pops up, dropping the mission cleared banner. It announces a sweet double item drop, cracking open the loot. He scores a mysterious scroll and a feather pen. The tooltip reveals that if he just draws the specific rune, all the hidden buffs will unlock. Totally hyped, he instantly sketches the symbol and gets a massive pop-up congratulating him for activating the terminal. The rewards are completely cracked. First up, a clean 500 reputation points, followed by 3,000 gold coins, and a juicy 1,500 experience points. All that raw EXP instantly skyrockets him to level 15. Plus he bags 3 free stat points to dump into physical strength, or whatever build he wants to run. The system even glazes him for being the very first player to trigger the class change station, gifting him an ultra-rare one-of-a-kind achievement. Meanwhile, Jia Yi catches distant chatter from randoms trying to cash in on the drops and hunting for a safe zone. Switching gears, he smacks his big goofy summon awake, roasting him to eat some more chicken and bulk up. The quick slap does the trick. His giant buddy scrambles up and the dynamic duo hits the road to continue their grind. Back in the hub, other players watch a massive portal rip open across the sky. Everyone's losing their minds, wondering if Jia Yi actually soloed the zombie boss. Rumors fly that he might have triggered a hidden mechanic to spawn a deadly silver tier variant. Moments later, a literal world announcement flashes across everyone's screens. Jia Yi is officially the first player to obliterate a silver tier boss, securing a legendary title and an absolute mountain of elite tier loot. The system literally tells the entire server to take notes from him. Right on cue, a deafening explosion shakes the earth, leaving everyone completely shell-shocked. But that panic instantly turns to massive hype when they realize they just leveled up for free. The whole server instantly turns into Jia Yi fanboys. The hype gets so toxic that players actually start turning on each other, dropping their own teammates just to steal extra experience points and gold coins. Watching this absolute chaos unfold from a distance, a veteran player gets chilling flashbacks. Just yesterday, 30 guys got completely wiped out, trying to unlock that exact same terminal. Meanwhile, in another zone, some guy is flexing, screaming that he knows Jia Yi personally, and claiming one server shoutout isn't nearly enough. They demand a three-peat world announcement, and in the shadows a high-ranking VIP immediately issues an order to track this god-tier player down and recruit him to their faction. Cut to the middle of nowhere. While the apocalypse rips the world apart, Lin Siluo and his bulky sidekick Big Dummy are just chilling, checking out their status screens. Lin Siluo flexes a solid level 16, sitting on 12,000 gold coins and 6,000 rep points. Laying low was the original game plan, but that ship has officially sailed. He cracks open his scroll to snag his well-earned loot. The scroll flashes, unlocking the absolute powerhouse Lord class, dripping with crazy new buffs and raw strength. His base stats instantly spike, leaving him a bunch of free points to dump straight into his spirit stat. He also scores a level 1 auto-loot skill. But thanks to his wildly broken cheat system, that bad boy instantly bumps up to level 2. He realizes these new tricks are total game changers for future grinding. On top of that, global drop rates just doubled for everyone, plus his special title tax on an extra 1%. That pushes Lin Siluo's total loot drop rate to an insane 201%. Next up, he pulls some silver tier drip, a stealth combat chestplate, and some enchanted greaves. The armor is literally built for tanking mages, slashing magic damage by 10%. The pants shave off another 5% of incoming hits, while boosting his spirit stat. The second he equips the set, the buffs lock in, giving him a solid 15% magic shield and a sweet overall stat boost across the board. Seeing his agility and spirit lagging behind, he patches them up, balancing both out at a solid 40, while capping the rest at 50. Right after that, he cashes in his 2 free gacha pulls from his cheat system. His first roll spits out a strength potion, which honestly feels pretty useless for real combat. Honestly, he considers both items to, but whatever he is, stacked enough with cash to just buy whatever gear he actually needs. Next, he scrolls through his unique titles. One for clapping a silver boss, and another for being the very first player to class up. Connecting the dots, he figures he blew all his RNG luck just pulling the Lord class. So getting a few trash tier rewards afterward is honestly a fair trade. Now it is time for the main event. He pops his 2 silver tier item rolls, praying to RNGesus for an absolute W. The first drop is a legacy scroll, letting him inherit his dad's class, pumping up his base stats, and making mob clearing way smoother. But to our guy, this drop feels and totally pointless for now. He stashes it in his inventory anyway, figuring it might come in handy later. Next, he pops open the shiny gold chest, and scores a massive inventory space upgrade, along with a fat stack of XP and coins. Buried in the loot pile, he pulls a literal watermelon knife, but it is Hua Qiang's blade, a straight-up gold-tier weapon. It buffs strength, constitution, attack speed, and crit rate, plus it packs a special skill. He admits the stats go crazy. But the skill itself is straight garbage because triggering it means screaming the most cringe catchphrase ever. Yeah, no thanks. So he just feeds the shiny new knife to his magic orb. Looking at the clock, he realizes break time is over. He only has 24 hours left on the clock, and he is about to squeeze every single second. To keep his energy up for the grind, he chugs a stamina. Right on cue, Big Dummy shambles over. Lin Sailuo lays out the battle plan. He will severely weaken the mobs and let his hulking pet land the final hits to farm the XP. The ultimate bribe. For every 20 zombies Big Dummy claps, he gets a whole roast chicken. Hearing that, the big guy gets insanely hyped to start smashing. Our hero immediately fires up his weapon, the Julie Orb. The orb shifts into a slick blade just as a bloated zombie lunges at them. With one clean, brutal slash, he deletes the monster, bagging 3 sweet rewards for wiping out the level 6 heavy tank. He points forward, ordering Big Dummy to slam his hammer into the pavement as bait. The massive zombie goes to town, and the booming shockwaves drag out literal hordes of fresh targets. And just like that, the grindfest begins with our boy effortlessly chaining down waves of level 7 mobs, raking in coins and points with every single takedown. Meanwhile, halfway across the map, someone is creeping on Jiayi's leaderboard stats, and they realize his main loadout features a busted diamond tier suit. Spotting that top-tier loot, the head of the Han clan instantly connects the dots. Jiayi snagged this gear by wiping the floor with the silver-tier boss. Li Haobo's old man immediately barks orders at a younger clan leader to stop playing around and take this threat seriously. The white-haired kid smirks, claiming he actually wants a face-to-face with this Jiayi guy. He basically tells the Lai family head to back off, roasting the old man by saying he ain't even on his level. Then he straight up calls Li Haobo pure dead weight who won't even last 5 minutes in this apocalypse. The older guy swallows his pride, brushing off the disrespect to stay on track, shifting the focus back to Jiayi. He admits this dude is a total ghost. Nobody in the whole country had even heard his name before. It's totally wild to them how some absolute nobody skyrocketed to the #1 spot nationwide in just a few days. The game plan: track this guy down and recruit him into their squad, knowing his insane stats would totally carry their massive corporate takeover. The white-haired psycho just grins, realizing this whole doomsday scenario is basically a massive cheat code for them. With the world completely falling apart, he's fully plotting to milk the abs so they can basically rule over everything. The old guy nods, agreeing that Jiayi is the perfect tool for their endgame, casually suggesting they just zero him and loot his god-tier gear. Cut back to the streets. Other survivors are fighting for their lives against massive zombie waves while the drop rates keep getting more and more insanely juicy. Right in the thick of the bloodbath, a creepy girl rocking glasses and carrying a massive scythe locks her sights onto another player. Miles away, chilling in a high-rise hotel, our main guy is just tossing his glowing orb like a baseball, watching the city burn below. He checks the stats. Zhong Yun is seriously lagging behind her rank from his past life. Man, he's gonna have to grind way harder this time around. Jiayi leans back, thinking hard. If things were perfectly tracking the original timeline, Zhong would literally be hitting level 9 by tomorrow, ready to trigger her class awakening. It hits him right there. His whole regression thing totally shattered the timeline, massively nerfing everyone else's progression. But honestly, with the crazy combat power he's packing right now, he's ready to body absolutely any threat. Getting down to business, Jiayi dumps a massive loot pile from his inventory, getting ready for an epic upgrade session. Out of nowhere, this totally rancid stench fills the room. He gags, yelling at the big idiot to ask if he straight up dropped a toxic bomb. Grossed out, he decides to actually take his one rare bath of the month. Once he steps out feeling fresh, his giant buddy motions that he wants a scrub down too. But Jiayi just shuts it down. Nah man, it's lights out. A flash of his past life hits him. Back then, everyone was so traumatized by the hardcore survival grind that personal hygiene literally became a myth. The hotel is dead quiet. Our main guy and his heavy-hitting sidekick are fully knocked out. But then deep into the night, the toilet randomly flushes, and a straight-up mutated zombie rat crawls out the bowl. Jiayi's sharp instincts kick in, catching the weird sound instantly. He opens his eyes, totally face-to-face with this nightmare rodent. The beast lunges. Time slows down as Jiayi clocks how ridiculously massive the virus mutated this thing. Still, it's literally zero sweat for him. With one smooth, blinding strike, he slices the freakish rat clean in half. But nah, this wasn't just a random spawn. Things are escalating way faster than expected. Seconds later, dozens of undead rats start flooding out of every single manhole across the city. Low-level players down in the streets completely panic, scattering in pure terror. But the swarm is too fast. Tons of players get completely overrun. Total pandemonium. The rat wave violently tears through the block, literally slamming themselves against the reinforced doors of our duo's hotel. Jia Yi's brain goes into overdrive. A massive monster wave dropping with absolutely zero system warnings. This isn't just a random pack of rodents. He grits his teeth. It's the butterfly effect. His time travel totally glitched out the system's schedule. He steps up to the glass, deciding to scope out the streets and figure out how to handle this massive red alert. Peeking out the streets actually look weirdly empty at first. He holds his breath, keeping his eyes locked on the shadows, wondering if he just totally overreacted. But nope, his gamer sense is tingling. That deafening screeching he heard. There is zero chance that came from just a few strays. Suddenly, a massive earth-shaking rumble confirms his worst fears. And the ground literally erupts. A tidal wave of rotting, screeching zombie rats violently spews out from the underground pipes. He squints, tracking their movements. They aren't just swarming randomly, they're rushing in perfectly coordinated. The math adds up fast. There's a hidden high-tier boss pulling the strings in the shadows. Knowing this is about to turn into an insanely sweaty raid, he grabs his gear, signaling his giant tank buddy that it's officially time to bail out. He pops the backdoor lock and totally dips from his hotel hideout. Our boy pulls up his mask, scoping out the massive horde. Lucky for him, Jay's mind immediately races to the insane loot drops he'd cop for taking down those bosses. But he pumps the brakes. Let's be real, the enemy headcount is way too crazy to just rush in blindly. First up, he needs to figure out what's driving these undead freaks. He orders Big Idiot to hold down the fort, and absolutely do not move a muscle. Next, he equips the Night Ring, letting his cloak carry him through the shadows between buildings to scout the perfect vantage point. He spots a gnarly swarm of rats chilling under a bridge and zeroes in on a nearby house. Like, who in their right mind is dumb enough to camp in a random house 8 days deep into an apocalypse? Jay thinks about popping his float skill to hit the roof, but decides against wasting the cooldown. Still, the vibe feels off, so he decides to monitor the rat pack from a safe distance. He stays completely frozen for what feels like forever, just waiting for the drop. Suddenly, dead silence. Then he spots it, a massive force field cutting the zone off from the outside world. Exactly like the class change station. Talk about a massive W, he didn't see this stroke of luck coming at all. He instantly summons Big Idiot to his side. Because it is officially time to grind. The duo grab their weapons, totally locking in for a brawl. While they're parkouring across the rooftops, a whole murder of red-eyed crows starts circling the airspace. Catching onto this, they instantly go stealth mode. The zombie animal spawn rate is way too high to pull aggro from all of them at once. Creeping up on a massive mansion, he spots a toxic mix of zombie rats and crows swarming the yard. It's honestly wild seeing them chill together, lining up to march inside like they're hitting a club, dying to know what kind of party is happening inside. He rappels down a rope to investigate the scene alongside his zombie sidekick, Daisha. They stick the landing right next to the creepy estate they were just scoping out, and immediately sprint toward the entrance. That is until a massive jump scare totally catches them off guard. We're talking giant roided-out zombie beasts, tigers, lions, bears, just absolute units. Our guy knows better than to sleep on a bear's raw power. Not in his past life, and definitely not right now. He watches as the mutated freaks filter straight into a glowing yellow portal, and just vanish into thin air. Even more random beasts from across the dead city are making a beeline straight for it. After camping out the entire night, the coast is finally clear. 0 animals left. So he makes the call, deciding it's time for him and Dasha to dive headfirst into the glowing rift. As he rolls up to it, the interface flashes. It's a totally unidentified dungeon. The system hits him with an entry prompt, breaking down the mechanics. Basically, there are 2 types of dungeons. Type 1 auto-scales the difficulty, forcing players into some intense PvP action. But Type 2, that one beams players straight into a level-matched quest. And boom, right here is the very first unknown dungeon to ever drop in history. Having cleared endless dungeons in his past life, he's basically a veteran. Plus, with his broken cheat skills, he's feeling mad confident. To him, this isn't even a gamble. He's just hoping for that sweet spawn protection mechanic from the mystery trials. Reading the system's fine print, he figures out he can dip in and out completely damage-free. Sounds like a bet. He slams the enter button, knowing he could instantly warp back to the dead city if things get sketchy. But hold up, the system throws a massive red flag. He has to go in completely solo, locking Big Idiot out. Turns out his cheat codes only apply to his main character, meaning Dasha the zombie is stuck playing Lobby Simulator outside. Lincello grips his blade tight and gets sucked straight into the mystery dungeon. The second he spawns in, massive flames erupt everywhere, lighting up the entire room like a bonfire. He barely taps the wall before catching some creepy movement inching toward him, and running on pure survival instinct, he immediately whips out his sword and slashes the absolute life out of it. A harsh red system alert flashes. Bro just hard-launched a hidden zone, the Dungeon of Despair. This cursed labyrinth literally feeds on your sanity. 0 survival rate. Nobody makes it out intact. The mission survive. Slash through nightmarish mobs, dodge brutal traps, and blindly hunt for that one single extraction point. But suddenly the system interface totally glitches out. Lin just unlocked an uncharted domain. He is totally shook, realizing it is a completely virgin map. And get this, his VIP entrance ticket was an actual warp portal. Wait, big brain moment. What if that same warp gate is funneling all these mutated beasts straight into the labyrinth? Even with the zone trying to nerf his gear, his trusty blade and core skills are still fully locked and loaded. The system literally cannot patch this exploit. Why? Because that divine pearl is straight up shielding his soul. Finally, the anti-cheat protocol wraps up, forcefully scaling the dungeon's vibe check to match our boy's insane stats. Massive stone walls shoot up from the ground, shifting the entire atmosphere. For a split second, he actually thinks the game just handed him easy mode. Plot twist. Stepping in prematurely just jacked the danger levels up by 50%. Yeah, time to re-strategize. Along with that nasty debuff, a fresh prompt pops up on his screen, basically saying, "Wanna rage quit? Just smash this shiny forfeit button right in front of you." The ultimate escape button materializes, and our protagonist straight up pushes it. But the second he draws his sword, a hidden pressure plate snaps, a lethal bolt screams straight at his face. Caught off guard, he manages a clutch parry, but the raw kinetic force literally sends him skidding backward. Makes sense though. Dropping into a fresh, uncharted hellscape, jump scares are basically guaranteed. He quickly realizes any normal player would have been instantly one-tapped by that projectile. Right on cue, a whole barrage of whistling darts locks onto him. Desperate, he kicks open a heavy iron door and vaults down the corridor, panting and thanking his lucky stars he did not end up as a pincushion. He briefly considers looting those bolts for free ammo, but the second he aims his blade down the hall, the trap just completely deactivates. Dead silence. Whatever. He pushes forward, letting pure gut instinct and muscle memory take the wheel, honestly getting hyped to speedrun this whole maze. Trusting his internal radar, he hooks a hard right. Crunch. He just stomped straight onto a rotting skeleton. No epic loot, no hidden lore, just a creepy calcium boy tossed there for cheap aesthetic chills. He keeps creeping through the gloom until he hits a massive door branded with a giant number 1, and literally just starts banging on it like he owns the place. The second he cranks that handle, a grotesque mutated zombie rat lunges straight for his jugular. Our boy effortlessly one-shots the beast. Instant gratification. Sweet experience points and some much-needed food supply cards drop into his inventory. The guy is absolutely starving, so he straight up starts having a picnic right there in the dungeon, but complains that the loot drop did not include a napkin to wipe his face. Unplayable. Real talk though, if he had not clutched that insane class advancement quest, he would have been wiped out instantly in this place. Locked in, he sticks to the strategy and banks another hard right. He starts knocking on the brickwork, scanning for hidden levers, but just ends up wandering through mind-numbing copy-paste hallways for what feels like hours. Out of nowhere, a massive tidal wave blasts out of the walls straight at him. A totally troll trap that just leaves him drenched and annoyed. Eventually, he spots the next checkpoint, door number 2, and casually sweeps the trash mobs inside. Fast forward to door number 10, where a massive elite boss rat is waiting. Spoiler alert, he completely wrecks it. With 0 difficulty snagging a crazy rare gold and diamond orb, suddenly the maze's blueprint clicks in his brain. Every single crossroad he has hit so far, an exact 3-way split. 2 paths are guaranteed instant game overs. The third one branches again, one rigged with traps, the other totally clear. He pieces the math together. The spawn rate of these undead freaks matches the exact number painted on the door. So staring down door 002, he already knows it is a double boss room, because door 001 only held 1 elite. And right then the chilling reality of this zone hits him like a truck. There is literally 0 light at the end of the tunnel. Step by grueling step, this maze is designed to completely shatter your mental state. Knowing these dungeon mobs are only going to get beefier, and traps are lurking everywhere, our guy finally kicks open room 002. Just like he guessed, 2 bronze tier bosses are waiting. He doesn't even hesitate, rushing in and absolutely demolishing them with a flurry of strikes. Boom, level 18 unlocked. Beating these guys drops an agility fruit, giving Lancelot a free sweet stat boost to his speed. Playing it smart, he slaps down a trap card right in front of door 003. And just like that, the 3 bosses inside just fall straight into the pit, wrapping up his 3rd day in this crazy maze. Day 4 kicks off with our boy upgrading his 9-blade sword. This bad boy now gives him a 10-point strength buff, shreds through armor, and dishes out a clean 130 damage. His slash attack now hits for 140% damage, pushing his energy pool all the way up to 220, while his heavy strike is a total nuke, dealing 240% strength damage and stunning targets for 2 whole seconds. Oh, and the sword's flying blades, he can now rapid-fire them two at a time. And the tips have this insane tearing effect. The dual sword mode also got a crazy attack speed buff, letting him slice through low-tier zombies like butter. Time for a field test. He steps up to some undead mobs squaring off against two bronze-tier zombie foxes. In a flash of speed, he wipes out 3 of them in a single brutal combo. Meanwhile, outside the maze, a bunch of level 10 players are finally hitting their class advancements, just like our MC. Everyone is desperately digging for any updates on Jai, who totally fell off the map. But honestly, they spot Jai still sitting pretty at the absolute #1 rank. So yeah, the guy isn't dead. He's just MIA somewhere. Flashing back to the labyrinth, Lancelot is having a blast, spamming his upgraded sword skills, absolutely wrecking the zombie beasts. He realizes he's on a completely different power level now. The grind keeps going, until one of the mobs literally blows up upon dying, giving him a quick jump scare. He quickly figures out. He just took down a level 9 zombie rat boss, scoring a massive point payout in the process. Right as the system hands over a shiny bronze chest, 2 more undead beasts try to jump him from behind. But in the blink of an eye, RMC completely obliterates them both without even breaking a sweat. A little bit later, he bodies a zombie cow, and another rat, finally hitting that sweet level 20 milestone. With that huge W, he gets 3 free stat points to play with, dumping them straight into strength and vitality. And hitting this specific level unlocks a super broken cheat item gacha spin, which he triggers instantly, rolling the dice. He pulls a god tier item called the Eye of Discernment. This thing lets him see hidden stats and data on any living creature. With this eye activated anytime Lancelot looks at other players, their entire inventory is exposed. Having access to all this top secret info means he can literally pinpoint the weak spots of any monster he faces. Seeing right through every single player will make him basically untouchable, but it's going to be a lonely path to the top. The second half of the item description is totally glitched out and blurry, so he has zero clue what the actual limits are for spotting these weaknesses. Only one way to find out. He decides to test it out on the very next wave of zombie mobs he runs into. Digging into his bag, he crafts some items together with his 9-blade orb, then sprints down the labyrinth halls. He pulls up to a high-numbered door, and the second he cranks it open, a massive horde of beasts comes flooding out. A whole flock of red-eyed crows dive bombs right at him, but he instantly pops his Eye of Discernment, scanning the flock. A glowing UI shows one of them is weak to fire, and its right wing is already damaged. Realizing how insanely broken this skill is, he goes straight for the exploit. He swings his sword, aiming specifically for their wings, landing massive area hits, and wiping them out in seconds. After the dust settles, he whips out a piece of paper, tallying up his crazy kill streak. With the ridiculous swarm behind that door fully cleared out, he pushes deeper into the dungeon. He keeps grinding forward until he hits a literal dead end, just to be safe. He smacks the stone wall with his sword, checking if it triggers some kind of hidden boss room. Relying on his yin-yang maze map, our hero carefully sneaks ahead, but the dead silence of this hallway is seriously giving him bad vibes. Though he knows the exit has to be right around the corner, he keeps hunting for the right path when suddenly a massive door, carved with a menacing dragon, slams down from the ceiling. With the exit totally sealed off and 0 other options left, our boy steps right through that massive creepy door. Boom! Inside, a colossal glowing red orb is just spinning in midair. The system immediately pops off, congratulating him for clearing the dungeon challenge. His loot: 2 incredibly sketchy rewards with 0 descriptions. Not wanting to miss a single drop of loot, he scans the room, hunting for hidden Easter eggs. That is when he spots it. A swirling vortex of pure magical energy, locked dead in the center. He stares at it for a sec, but the moment his fingers brush the surface, it shatters into a million glowing rainbow shards. Suddenly, our main character is literally levitating right in the middle of it. Seconds later, a straight-up cocoon spawns in the core. The raw power violently wraps around him, tearing into his flesh, inflicting massive damage. Then all that brutal force violently funnels straight into the cocoon, causing it to aggressively crack wide open. Every single drop of that mysterious energy gets hardwired straight into Lin Ziluo, who miraculously tanked the massive impact like an absolute boss. As this cosmic juice fuses perfectly with the planet's own energy, a blinding flash triggers. Boom. A forced class. Say hello to his insane new class, the Verdant Emperor. It is set to fully digitize once he clears the dungeon. Out of nowhere, a glowing emerald ring materializes in thin air, radiating pure Mother Nature vibes. And the exact second he snatches it, he officially becomes one with the elements. We are talking total flawless manipulation over fire and water, with even more broken abilities locked and loaded for later. Realizing this power-up basically gives him God mode, our guy is beyond hyped for what is coming next. But right after the class upgrade, this trash tier dungeon starts literally caving in. Not waiting around to get crushed, he instantly taps the prompt to teleport straight out of the labyrinth of despair. The second his boots hit safety, he whips out his phone and his jaw just drops. He is completely shook. 2 whole weeks just vanished while he was grinding inside that dungeon. Panicking, he sprints off to feed Dasha, his loyal zombie bro, who has been starving on standby this entire time. He spots him and realizes the poor dude literally hasn't moved a single inch since he left. Knowing his pet is probably starving to death, he immediately tosses him a whole raw chicken to chow down on. But here is the catch. While he was out of bounds, the rest of the player base was sweating hard, grinding their levels up, dangerously closing the gap to his rank. Oh well. It is officially time for him and Dasha to flex on these kids. Meanwhile, top-tier tryhard Zhang Yuanzhang officially hits level 18, putting him a mere 2 levels behind Lin Ziluo. This dude is sitting there totally convinced he just dethroned Yazi, until he checks the boards and violently chokes. Yazi just randomly instantly spiked to level 20. The world chat absolutely erupts, celebrating the return of the king, like it is a religious revival. One guy points out that Dasha completely vanished from the leaderboards, leaving everyone insanely confused by the glitch, all while staring in awe as the #1 absolute GOAT reclaims his throne at level 20. The system formally announces that our main character has finally exited the dungeon, rocking dual specs as the Verdant Emperor and Supreme Lord. His raw stats are absolutely exploding, easily shattering the 80 barrier, and stacking a whopping 90 extra points on top of that. He also scores the ultra-rare 8 trigrams pendant, glowing with a sleek yin-yang symbol, mutating him into an absolute telekinetic god when it comes to bending fire and water. Translation: his attack potential just became basically infinite, letting him spam elemental combos totally hands-free. Back to Dasha, who is so incredibly exhausted and starving that he is literally ripping his own clothes off in blind zombie rage. Our boy notices his monstrous pet is somehow hard stuck at level 16, so he looks dead at him, and orders Dasha to pop his transformation and show off his raw power. Loyal to the bone, Dasha savagely punches the dirt. Instantly jagged heavy boulders wrap completely around his knuckles, like organic brass knuckles. Dasha's new class, the Tyrant, a heavy-hitting spec that grants him horrifying physical strength and his very own elemental manipulation. Shortly after, our hero casually pulls a few more bronze tier drops, including a massive duplicate drop for his zombie control skill. Since he already had it unlocked, the system smoothly bumps it straight to level 2. With all these massive buffs endlessly stacking on each other, the guy is basically untouchable right now. But as he confidently struts toward Moss City, a fresh system alert pops up, warning him that the global combat event is officially wrapping up. And because of the timer running out, a bunch of lucky randoms are already cashing in, heavily bagging sweet, silver tier loot. Yazi freezes, totally stunned, as he realizes the event. It was literally over before it even started. The second he stepped into the maze, the combat event triggered. The catch: 30 players in the city had to hit level 10 first. This massive showdown was locked to a specific zone, and the loot, purely based on how hard you carried the fight. So naturally, Jia Yi and Big Fool decided to completely farm this event for some easy levels. Jia Yi ordered Dasha to totally shatter the ground with his hammer. Without missing a beat, the giant slammed his massive warhammer into the dirt, ripping chunks of solid rock right out of the earth to shield his body. To melt the incoming threat, our boy whipped out the Ju Li sword, firing off a brutal ranged strike that sliced straight through the undead mob. Meanwhile, Big Fool went full beast mode, charging in with his hammer raised. He launched himself into the sky and crashed down like a meteor, totally flattening the monsters into pancakes. In record time, the dynamic duo completely wiped the zombie horde off the map. Catching his breath on the curb, our MC pulled out a glowing fireball scroll. Thank God he didn't feed this absolute gem to the Ju Li orb as a quick snack. It was perfectly ready to use. Just like that, he instantly unlocked fireball magic. He even managed to cloak his entire body in a blazing aura of pure heat, bending the flames entirely to his will. He molded the fire right in his palms, twisting it into wild shapes. But for a split second, the flames violently backfired, erupting right in his face. Completely unfazed and totally unhurt, he decided to keep grinding the skill. After a while, playing with fire using just his hands got pretty boring. That's when his Green Emperor class kicked in. He figured out how to control the magic with pure brain power, spawning a devastating sphere of fire that detonated the second it launched. Since the damage completely scaled off his mental stats, our hero tested out the nasty new move, and hyped himself up over learning a whole spell from just one scroll. He immediately realized that shops in other cities were probably stocked with magic scrolls just waiting to be bought. Wrapping up his training arc, he went hunting for some chicken to feed Big Fool. While at it, he checked the global feed to see if other cities were kicking off their own combat and agility events. Cut to Jing City, where the Li family was raging over being hard stuck in third place. On the leaderboards, they desperately craved the #1 spot for that sweet clout. One of their scouts reported they could easily snatch second place, but was heavily sweating over the Zhang clan. The family boss asked if a full-on deathmatch was going down. The scout nervously reminded him that Zhang literally had a whole army. Still, he tried to cope, telling his boss that the big three families were tight and Zhang wasn't dumb enough to start a turf war. Sick of the excuses, the Li family head barked in order to secure first place by any means necessary. His goons instantly agreed to get their hands dirty. As the squad rolled out, the boss pulled aside one guy, Shi Jingshan, and dropped a highly classified mission on him. He needed to figure out why the hell Rongzhan wasn't on the leaderboard yet, and completely wipe out the issue with Zhongguan.